Chapter 692. Even if the arrival of winter didn't affect the climate of the Principality of Constantine that much, it was close to the end of the year, so there were many people who would be affected. For example, there were many workers who came from outside the Principality of Constantine who were preparing to go home a month before the holidays. 2 years ago, these workers would choose to take the Fersen Transport Chamber of Commerce's public transport line to the new Flight Commerce main base in the Principality of Constantine to go home. Because there were limited transport vehicles and there was a lot of traffic, many people had to wait a few days before leaving. There were even more people who took the transport magic cars to other places. However, at the beginning of December this year, the company suddenly announced a piece of good news. Sir Chairman considered that it wasn't easy for the workers to go home each year, so he made an agreement with the Fersen Transport Chamber of Commerce. Starting in December, they would send several more public transport magic cars from the Principality of Constantine to other places each day to take the workers of the new flyer home. Moreover, the company treated this as a welfare policy. This meant that if the workers chose to take these public transport home, they didn't even need to pay the fare, and it would all be taken care of by the company. Once this news was spread, all the workers of the new flyer cheered. When many workers discussed this matter in private, they were all happy that they had chosen to stay in the new flyer. At the same time, they couldn't help laughing at the 18,000 workers who had gone on strike and had been fired by the company. Ha ha, those idiots. I already said that the new flyer was much stronger in all aspects, but they had to cause trouble. Now it's good, they angered Sir Chairman and were chased out. Now they won't be able to enjoy these benefits, right? Regardless of the workers' private schadenfreude, all the workers were very satisfied with the benefits that the new flyer suddenly announced. It was also because of this that the workers were much more enthusiastic in their work. It actually increased the production capacity of the factories under the new flyer, allowing the new flyer to complete quite a few orders ahead of time. Sir Guild Leader, according to our calculations, our profits have increased by 13.7% compared to our original plan. Because of this, our profits have increased by more than 78,000 gold coins. On the other hand, we only spent a little over 40,000 gold coins on this benefit. On the contrary, we've made quite a bit of profit, Sebastian said excitedly as he looked at the financial report in his hand. But this is only for a while. When the enthusiasm of the workers passes, the output will return to normal. The Household Magic Machine Department's manager Ankado said. Sui, who was sitting at the head of the table, waved his hand. We are not promoting this welfare policy to make money, but to provide convenience for the workers. Therefore, earning more was a pleasant surprise, but not earning anything was normal. In comparison, we should study how to mobilize the enthusiasm of the workers so that we can maintain such high work efficiency and further increase production capacity. Well, I'm afraid that's not very realistic. Heinz, who was the first person to Suyi's right, shook his head. The workers were only this motivated during this time, it's impossible to maintain it for a long time. The other high-level members of the new flyer all nodded, clearly feeling that Heinz's words were right. Sui revealed a faint smile. The facts this time prove that the workers still have potential, but we haven't found a good method yet. As for how to increase the enthusiasm of the workers, increasing their work efficiency and production capacity, that will depend on you people who manage the factories to think of a way. Everyone revealed difficult looks, but they didn't refute him at all. They just knit their brows and began to think. All right, we'll think about this later, let's move on to the next topic. Sui clapped his hands and cut off everyone's thoughts. He turned to Kennard and nodded at him. Kennard, you should first prepare the company's work report for this year. Kennard nodded and stood up. He picked up a document that he had prepared a long time ago and began to explain with a serious expression. From Kennard's work report as the CEO, it could be seen that New Flyer continued to maintain rapid and even astonishing development this year. Just in a single year, the Frestec Chamber of Commerce had established cooperation with 5 other countries and had invested in 17 household magic machine factories in those 5 countries. Adding on the 65 household magic machine factories that New Flyer had established with the Lampari Kingdom, the Kingdom of Ruhr, and the Drake Duchy, as well as the factories that were built 2 years ago, New Flyer had a total of 154 household magic machine factories outside of the Principality of Constantine. These factories were operating normally this year, and all the household magic machines they produced were sold out. Not only did this bring large benefits to New Flyer, it also brought large benefits to the various countries. The most important thing for these countries was that the factories that New Flyer had established with them were mostly local workers, which solved a large employment problem for these countries. With the existence of these factories, it drove the economic development of the area around the factories, clearly improving the lives of the people around the factories. In short, the Frestec Chamber of Commerce had a happy cooperation with all the countries. Each country welcomed the Frestec Chamber of Commerce's investment and deepened their cooperation. After saying this, Kennard paused and looked at Su Yi before continuing, "Sir Chairman, there are many countries that want to cooperate with our company outside of the household magic machine industry. For example, the Lampari Kingdom has always wanted to cooperate with us to open a military magic machine factory. The Kingdom of Ruhr is very interested in magic machines. There are also several small countries that are interested in construction magic machines and magic cars." Su Yi tapped his finger on the table a few times and after thinking for a bit, he said, "In my name, I'll make an announcement on behalf of New Flyer. Just say that our company welcomes other people to cooperate with us in terms of magic machines and other applied magic machines." Kennard and the others looked at each other before giving a slight nod. Su Yi had already revealed his intentions, so they weren't surprised that he was using this chance to confirm this plan. It could be imagined that when New Flyer made this announcement, there would be countless merchants from many countries that would flock over. Countless people were already drooling over the magic machines outside of New Flyer's household magic machines. Now that Su Yi had finally relented, of course they would seize this chance. "Then what about the military magic machines?" Kennard asked. "The time isn't right, there's no need to mention this," Su Yi casually said. Kennard nodded and didn't keep asking as he continued with his report. After talking about New Flyer's cooperation with other countries, it was time to introduce New Flyer's work. Right now New Flyer had already moved their household magic machine manufacturing to the factories of other countries, leaving only the research department in their main base. Other than this, the main base's production was mainly focused on magic machines and applied magic machines, as well as the military magic machines. The most important thing was the magic machine development work. When Kennard finished introducing this, it was time for the Academy of Magic's Chief Evita and the Magic Machine Development Department's Manager Camby to give their reports. Their reports were very simple, they just introduced the breakthroughs that New Flyer had made this year. Compared to the past few years, New Flyer didn't have that many breakthroughs in terms of research this year. The only new product they had developed was the magic cannon. The other research was mainly focused on improving the quality and performance of the previous products, so there were many people who began to question if New Flyer couldn't develop any new magic machines. Su Yi gave a snort of disdain at these questions. "The decrease in the number of new products we're developing proves that our Chamber of Commerce's research on magic machines has reached a whole new level, making the new magic machines more complex and more technical. Naturally, it's difficult to casually produce a new product. For example, our main research center this year is the magic boat. For such a large ship, could it be that it can be developed in just a few months or a year? I'm afraid it'll sink in a short while." Everyone in the conference room revealed smiles. The appearance of the morning sun, these 3 large transport magic ships. Not only did it overturn everyone's understanding of ships, even the insiders of the Frestec Chamber of Commerce like them felt it was a bit unbelievable after seeing these 3 large transport magic ships. If it was a large ship, they had never even dreamed of one before. And when these 3 ships could sail from the Principality of Constantine to Nissi City in the Kingdom of Ruhr, traveling over 5,000 kilometers and taking less than a month, it shocked everyone even more. It could be said that the appearance of these 3 large transport magic boats had completely subverted the definition of sea transport in signs. This kind of shocking thing that even subverted everyone's understanding, how could it be casually developed? Chairman, actually, if you request for us to develop a few new magic machines every year, it's not impossible. Kanbai still wasn't convinced. Sui laughed. As long as it doesn't delay our main research goals, I'll allow you to freely develop some small things. Of course, if you delay our main goals, don't blame me for causing trouble for you. Kanbai scratched his head. Then you have to set the main research goals for each year. This is what I wanted to say. As for the main research goals for next year, I've already set them. Evita and Kanbai immediately focused on Sui. Chapter 693. Sui nodded. In the next year, our main research goal other than the magic boat is the magic airship. As soon as Sui's voice fell, everyone's eyes fell onto Evita. Everyone knew that Evita was mainly in charge of developing the magic airship. Evita gave a slight nod. Sir Chairman, I will do my best. Not only will you do your best, I want to give you a specific request. Sui said with a serious look. Evita, tell me, what is the current development of the magic airship? Evita was silent for a bit before replying. As for the specific data, the magic airship that we're currently developing has a maximum carrying capacity of 17 tons, a maximum carrying capacity of 36 cubic meters, a maximum speed of 70 kilometers per hour, and a maximum range of 930 kilometers. Hearing Evita's introduction, the others all had looks of admiration. Even if they didn't know much about the magic airship, based on the data Evita reported, this magic airship had a very good performance. The more important thing was that the magic airship could fly in the sky. Just based on this, it was much better than the magic car or the magic boat. Sir Chairman placed such importance on the magic airship because of this reason. It's not bad. Sui nodded, but he didn't look too satisfied. But it still can't reach my request. Evita, my request is that the magic airship can travel over 1,500 kilometers per hour and can reach a speed of over 100 kilometers per hour. Can you do this? A speed of over 100 kilometers per hour. Everyone was stunned. Even the magic sedan with the fire magic engine developed by the company could only reach a speed of over 80 kilometers per hour. Sir Chairman actually wanted the magic airship to reach a speed of over 100 kilometers per hour. Wasn't this request too high? But Evita only thought for a moment before nodding with a determined expression. No problem. Good. Sui was satisfied. He had Evita sit down with a smile before turning to Kanbai. Evita is confident. What about you, Kanbai? Kanbai revealed a grin. As long as the Academy of Magic can design the model, our Magic Machine Development Center doesn't have any problems. Sui smiled and motioned to Kennard to continue. Although the people present were all executives of New Flyer, they didn't have a complete understanding of the Chamber of Commerce's situation. After listening to Kennard's work report, they had a general understanding of the Chamber of Commerce's current situation. They didn't know before, but once they did, everyone was surprised to find that, without knowing it, the Frestec Chamber of Commerce had already become such a large company. Not only did they cover the sky with one hand in the Stantine Duchy, they could even influence the Lampuri Kingdom, the Rudsun Kingdom, and several other countries. This was something that even a first-rate Chamber of Commerce in the Lampari Kingdom would find difficult to achieve. However, their surprise had just begun. When Kennard finally asked Seabass to make the annual report, the surprise in everyone's hearts turned into shock. According to Seabass' financial report, the Frestec Chamber of Commerce had earned over 10 million gold coins just from the household magic machine sector. In terms of applied magic machines, it was mainly focused on construction magic machines and magic cars, earning over 6 million gold coins. In terms of production magic machines, New Flyer had earned over 1,800,000 gold coins. Other than this, there were also the bicycles, cement, fertilizer, and other products that earned over 1 million gold coins. If they added in the 4 million gold coins profit from the 5 steel mills, the Xinfei Chamber of Commerce's total profit this year had reached a shocking 23 million gold coins. This number was something that no one had expected. In last year's end-of-year report, New Flyer's total profit had only broken 10 million gold coins. They never thought that in just a single year, their total profit had doubled. This kind of development speed was simply unbelievable. Sir Chairman, even in the Lampari Kingdom, we can be considered a first-class company, right? After the room was silent for a bit, Enkato swallowed a mouthful of saliva and spoke with difficulty. Nonsense. Hines reprimanded before saying with a proud look, the largest company in the Lampari Kingdom should be the Fulcao Chamber of Commerce. It's already good if they can earn 10 million gold coins a year. I dare say that if our company was placed in the Lampari Kingdom, we would definitely be the company that earns the most money. Seeing the excited looks on their faces, Su-Yi shook his head with a smile. Everyone, don't be happy too early. Indeed, our company is earning quite a bit, but if we really want to compare to those old companies, we're still lacking by quite a bit. This is because we've only been established for a short time and our foundation is still too weak. Sir Chairman, which aspect are you referring to? Camby asked in a doubtful voice. Many aspects, Su-Yi replied with a smile. If we want to catch up to those old companies and even enter a huge empire like the Kanla Empire according to our plans, we still have many areas to strengthen in order to compete with those first-class companies in the Kanla Empire. Therefore, don't look at how much we earn, we also need to spend a lot of money. At this point, Su-Yi forcefully clapped his hands, indicating for Seabass to sit down. He raised his voice and continued, now that we've finished talking about the good parts of the company, let's summarize the bad parts. Everyone, feel free to speak. Let's see what areas the company needs to improve. Don't be polite, feel free to speak. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. After a moment of silence, Evita was the first to raise her hand. Yes, Evita, you go first. Evita lightly nodded and said with a stern expression, Sir Chairman, I hope that the company can continue to recruit more mages into the research facility. It's best if we can recruit more high-ranked mages. Because our company is currently developing large-scale magic machines with increasingly high requirements in terms of power and other aspects, low-ranked magic arrays can no longer meet the requirement. Therefore, we need high-ranked mages to contribute to the research of high-ranked magic arrays. Good, that's a very reasonable request. If possible, I would like to recruit more Grand Mages into the Academy of Magic. If possible, it would be even better if Archmage-level mages are willing to join us. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. Was the chairman talking in his sleep? Grand Mages already had extremely high statuses in most countries. How could they casually join a company? As for Archmages? They were top-notch figures in the Kanla Empire and the Mala Empire. How could they possibly run over to New Flyer to participate in research? The Frestec Chamber of Commerce being able to have an arch-magus like Camilla, as well as 3 great magicians like Toluchi, Runa, and the dwarf Lumi was already an anomaly among all the companies on the continent. If Su-Yi wanted more, it was simply a fool's dream. But thinking about it, even Su-Yi was a grand mage himself, which was also extremely rare among the companies on the continent. Therefore, it wasn't hard to understand why he would have such thoughts. Evita was very confident in Su-Yi and nodded with a smile, agreeing with Su Yi's reply. With Evita taking the lead, the others also let go of their worries and began to speak to Su Yi. However, compared to Evita's request to recruit more high-ranked mages, the other people's requests were much simpler. In summary, there was only one word: money. Therefore, after tallying up the requests and questions from these people, the financial manager Seabass came up with a number. Sir Chairman, to solve these problems, the company needs to invest at least 5 million gold coins next year. Everyone was startled. They wouldn't have known if they didn't calculate it, but after calculating it, they found that the requests they made would cost this much money. Su Yi wasn't surprised at all. He pointed at Evita and Cambi with a smile as he said, "Increase the budget for the Academy of Magic and the Magic Machine Development Center by 30%. The company will have higher requirements for development in the next 2 years, so we need to keep increasing our research." No one had any objections. Su Yi had always been strict with research and treated it strictly, while also sparing no effort in investing. The Academy of Magic and the Magic Machine Development Center could be considered two very special departments in the company, having a naturally higher position than the other departments. However, this was something they won and Su Yi placed importance on it, so no one had any objections. When everyone stopped, Su Yi suddenly pointed at the far end of the table. "Other than this, the budget of the company's guards will be increased by 5. Everyone, including the new flyer guard Captain Hart, who had participated in the end-of-the-year summary meeting but hadn't said anything, had their eyes wide open with a look of disbelief. The new flyers guards had a sufficient budget, and according to the budget that Seabass had just announced, the company's guards would have a budget of 300,000 gold coins next year. This far surpassed the budget of any company that cooperated with the new flyer. But now Su Yi was saying that this budget would be increased by 5, which was an entire 1.5 million gold coins. God above! The new flyer's annual profit of over 20 million gold coins wasn't bad, but to suddenly take out 1.5 million gold coins to spend on the company's guards, this wasn't much less than the budget of the Lampari Kingdom or the Kingdom of Ruor's army. Sir Chairman, what did he want to do? Chapter 694. Ragsar was squatting on the light-colored beach of Thunderbolt Island, basking in the warm winter sun that could only be found in the southern seas of the continent, while looking at the vast ocean in the northwest in a daze. The waves would occasionally splash onto the beach, covering his bare feet, but he didn't feel any coldness at all. When the waves retreated, there were white bubbles on the beach, just like beer being poured into a cup. Ragsar licked his lips, reminiscing about the delicious beer and ale at home that he had already drunk to the point where there were only empty bottles left. This wine had been brought by the new flyer fleet when they came to Thunderbolt Island. It had been mixed in with the supplies that the new flyer fleet had given to the Thunderbolt pirates, and he had taken it all for himself without any hesitation. However, no matter how good the wine was, there would be a day where it would all be drunk. If he wanted to drink the same delicious wine again, it was impossible on Thunderbolt Island. The only way was to go to Nissi City and buy it. However, according to the news that he had received, the Kingdom of Ruor had already placed the Thunderbolt pirates on their wanted list. Moreover, his portrait as the captain of the Thunderbolt pirates had already been released. As long as he dared to go to shore, he would immediately face the fate of being imprisoned or even beheaded. Therefore, Ragsar could only be trapped on Thunderbolt Island, staring at the ocean in a daze every day, waiting for the new flyer fleet to come again. Last time, the Shinfei fleet commander called Narvel had said before leaving that if nothing unexpected happened, he would frequently lead the new flyer fleet through this route. Moreover, the new flyer would most likely include Thunderbolt Island in their development plans. Ragsar had personally seen how terrifying the Frestek Chamber of Commerce was, and he had heard a lot about the Frestek Chamber of Commerce from other channels. He knew that the Frestek Chamber of Commerce was one of the top companies in the surrounding countries, so he was very confident in the Frestek Chamber of Commerce and was filled with expectations. But Narvel had been gone for 4 months with the Frestek fleet and there was still no news from him. Ragsar waited day by day, becoming more and more hopeless day by day. Fuck, I wouldn't have been played by that Narvel, right? Thinking of this, Ragsar spat on the beach and cursed in a low voice. Leader, who did you say tricked you? Suddenly, there was the sound of footsteps on the beach. The vice-captain of the Thunderbolt Pirates, Doram, squatted down beside Ragsar. Isn't it because of those bastards from the Frestek Chamber of Commerce? Ragsar cursed back. He clearly said that he would develop our Thunderbolt Island, but he still hasn't come. Isn't he playing with me? Doram looked at Ragsar with some surprise. Leader, I thought you were thinking about something when you didn't say anything for the past few days. Turns out you were waiting for those people to come back. Drum shook his head. Captain, you're an old pirate. Don't you know that those merchants never speak the truth? That Narvel made it sound nice, but he was definitely lying to us. In my opinion, since we are pirates, we shouldn't think too much. Doing our original business is the right way to go. Ragsar let out a sigh. How could I not know this? But being a pirate isn't a comfortable thing. If there's a chance for everyone to work properly and earn money, then of course I want to grab it. Doram was silent for a bit before sighing. Leader, I know you've always been thinking about us, but this time, I'm afraid you're thinking too much. Ragsar stared at the sea for a bit before shaking his head with a bitter smile. I'm indeed thinking too much. After saying this, he patted his butt and stood up, turning to head back to the island. Doram was stunned. Leader, where are you going? Nonsense, of course I'm going to prepare to go out to sea and do what we have. Before he could say the last word, Ragsar turned around and was stunned. He looked behind Doram with a face filled with disbelief. Doram's heart skipped a beat as he quickly turned around. He looked at the sea and saw several black dots quickly approaching. Not long after, the black dots gradually turned into several ships on the sea. Although they were still far away, Doram only needed to look at them to know that these ships were the same as the 3 giant ships that came to Thunderbolt Island last time. Last time, there were 3 ships, but this time, there were a total of 7 ships. Moreover, other than these 7 giant magic ships that were like small mountains on the sea, there were around 20 smaller magic ships around them. Of course, this so-called small was only compared to the 7 giant magic boat. Actually, if these 20 ships were taken out individually, each one of them was several times bigger than the ships of the Thunderbolt Pirates. It can't be they're actually here. Doram was dumbstruck as he watched the ships quickly approach. After a while, he turned around to look at Ragsar. Leader, what do we do? What do we do? Ragsar was stunned before angrily saying, What do we do? What are you in a daze for? Quickly call everyone out and prepare to welcome the guests. Oh yes, yes. Doram quickly replied before charging into the island. But when he charged halfway, he found that there was a large group of people coming out of the island, which were the residents of the island. Seeing them excitedly pointing at the sea and cheering, Doram immediately understood that it wasn't just him and Ragsar who noticed the arrival of the new flyer fleet. After around 10 minutes, the 7 giant magic ships and the 20 smaller magic ships approached the coast of Thunderbolt Island at the same time. Just like last time, because of the problem of water, these magic ships couldn't really approach the coast and chose to stop a few hundred meters away from the coast. There were 10 small magic speedboats that Ragsar rode last time that came down from the magic ships and several dozen figures landed on them. They quickly came over and approached the coast. Several figures came out of the small magic speedboats and entered the sea on the shore. The one leading them was Narvel. Seeing Ragsar in the distance, Narvel reached out his hands with a wide smile. Captain Ragsar, long time no see. Ragsar glanced at the majestic fleet in the distance, took a deep breath, and went forward to welcome them. "Captain Narvel, you really made me wait for a long time." Narvel revealed a faint smile. Based on the expression and eyes of this pirate head, he was really looking forward to seeing him again. But thinking about it, that was right. Pirates sounded very impressive, but their lives weren't good at all. Not mentioning the wind and rain that hit them all day, they were also in danger of losing their lives at any time. If it wasn't for the fact that they couldn't go on, no one would be willing to be a pirate. Now that the new flyer had set their eyes on Thunderbolt Island and wanted to develop it, it gave everyone in the Thunderbolt Pirates a chance to improve their lives. It would be strange if Ragsar didn't warmly welcome them. Thinking of this, Narvel didn't waste any words. With a wave of his hand, the several dozen Fresteck Chamber of Commerce guards who came with him jumped out of the small charge boat with the daily necessities they had prepared. "Captain Ragsar, these are some small gifts. I ask the friends on the island to accept them." Looking at a box of goods marked with wine, Ragsar couldn't help swallowing a mouthful of saliva. He nodded and turned to call the islanders to help. The islanders already couldn't wait, so they all cheered when they saw this and rushed over. Narvel didn't care about the goods, rather he pulled Ragsar to the side and said with a serious look, "Captain Ragsar, I'm officially reporting to you that our new flyer has already listed Thunderbolt Island as part of our development plan. So from now on, you need to cooperate with our development plan, understood?" Narvel's commanding tone made Ragsar knit his brows when he heard this, but after a moment, his brows relaxed and he nodded with a smile. The situation was stronger than the people. The new flyer was clearly several times stronger than the small Thunderbolt pirate. If the new flyer wanted to use force, they could easily destroy the Thunderbolt pirates and take over Thunderbolt Island. Being able to put on a posture of wanting to cooperate with him on the surface was already extremely benevolent. Then Captain Narvel, what can we do for you?" Ragsar asked. Seeing Ragsar's respectful attitude and obedient appearance, Narvel nodded in satisfaction. "You don't need to do anything special. You just need to organize the people on the island and be the helpers and guides for the people our company will send over. Also, there are other arrangements for your Thunderbolt pirate." Ragsar was a bit surprised. He thought that the new flyer only had their eyes on Thunderbolt Island, but he never thought that they would also have their eyes on the Thunderbolt pirate. "Wait a bit." Narvel had Ragsar wait a bit before running to a small magic speedboat. He said a few words to someone before the two of them came over. "Let me introduce you. This is the commander of our new flyer's guard fleet, Sir Leslie." Seeing that Narvel was very respectful in front of this person named Leslie, Ragsar put away his careless appearance and respectfully gave Leslie a bow. "Ragsar greets Sir Leslie." Leslie looked over Ragsar with a smile. Seeing that he had a strong body and a trace of astuteness in his respectful expression, he gave a satisfied nod. "Ragsar, call your brothers from the Thunderbolt Pirates and come with me." Go? Where?" Ragsar asked in a surprised voice. "We're going to clean up the surrounding fellows." Chapter 695. 3 days later, Ragsar stepped onto the deck of the medium-sized magic ship. He turned to look at the smoky island in the distance, and felt that everything in front of him was a bit unreal. This island was the nest of the strongest pirate group in the surrounding seas, the Death God Pirates. Even if the boss of the Death God Pirates, the pirate King Soskarg, had been beheaded by the Kingdom of Ruhr, this didn't affect the strength of the Death God Pirates. In the surrounding sea region, the Death God Pirates still relied on their 76 large pirate ships under their name, as well as more than 2,000 pirates. They were still able to move unhindered, and no one could stop them. When Leslie told Ragsar that he wanted to take care of the Death God Pirates, Ragsar thought that Leslie was crazy. He only brought several medium-sized magic ships, and he wanted to fight the Death God Pirates? But the truth made Ragsar unable to believe his eyes. After facing the medium-sized magic ship, The 17 Death God grade pirates that the Death God pirates were proud of didn't even have a chance to fight back before being sunk. From beginning to end, these ships couldn't even approach the medium-sized magic ship. There were clearly several hundred meters between them, even over 1,000 meters away, but the medium-sized magic ship directly attacked. The terrifying magic cannons on the ship fired magic shells, accurately hitting the Death God grade pirates several hundred meters away. The Death God pirate ships. Just a single magic shell was enough to create a large hole in the giant Death God grade pirate ship. Adding in another two, it was enough to completely collapse the Death God grade pirates and quickly sink to the bottom of the sea. In the end, the Death God pirates sent out all their ships and the pirates swarmed over, but they couldn't even touch the new Flyers Guard fleet before they were completely annihilated. Ragsar had been a pirate for over 20 years and had been on the sea for this long, experiencing countless bloody battles, but this was his first time seeing this kind of battle. The two sides of the battle didn't even have the chance to engage in the most basic of battles before the battle ended. Moreover, the results were even more unbelievable. The Death God pirates, which had 76 large pirate ships, had all sunk without exception. On the other hand, the new flyer fleet didn't suffer any losses. The disparity was so great that it was like a miracle. However, Ragsar had personally experienced a normal battle, so he knew that this wasn't a miracle. Instead, it was because the new Flyers Guard fleet was too powerful. With the might of the new Flyers medium guard ships, Ragsar couldn't think of anyone who could resist them. It could even be said that compared to these pirate groups, the new Flyers fleet was like a fleet from another world. The combat style of both sides was fundamentally different. The pirates were still stuck in attacking each other with rockets, and the final deciding factor was to charge into the enemy's ship and kill it. The new Flyers fleet, on the other hand, wouldn't give them any chance to approach and would easily finish them off. Not to mention the Death God pirates having 76 ships, even if they had 760 ships, they definitely wouldn't be a match for the new Flyers fleet. What made Ragsar feel even more despair was that these medium-sized magic ships were very fast on the sea. They were at least 4 or 5 times faster than the wooden ships the pirates used. Moreover, for these medium-sized magic ships, there was no difference between going with the wind and going against the wind. No matter what the situation was, they could maintain this kind of speed. With this kind of difference in speed, even if the pirates had more pirate groups, they couldn't catch up at all. And because they had the absolute advantage in speed, when these pirate ships wanted to run, they couldn't run at all. Leslie had told Ragsar before the battle that he wanted to completely eliminate the Death God pirates, but Ragsar had treated it as a joke. But when he personally witnessed the entire battle, Ragsar could only stare with his mouth agape. He was speechless. "All right, Ragsar, let's take care of the largest Death God pirates first. Are there any other pirate groups that pose a threat? Let's hear it." Leslie on the side put down the telescope in his hand and asked Ragsar this. Ragsar turned to look at Leslie in a daze, wanting to laugh, but he couldn't. What other pirate groups could pose a threat? What a joke. Come on, the Death God pirates couldn't even take a single blow from you. What other pirate groups could pose a threat? Leslie could see what Ragsar was thinking from his eyes and said with a smile, "The threat I'm talking about isn't a threat to us, but rather I don't want these fellows to hinder the development of Thunderbolt Island. So, my mission this time is to completely take care of these threats. Do you understand what I mean?" Ragsar gave a bitter laugh and shook his head. "I don't think there's a need. Now that you've easily taken care of the Death God pirates in this area, you are the recognized boss. There isn't a pirate group that would be blind enough to provoke you. As long as you spread the word that Thunderbolt Island is your territory, I dare say that Thunderbolt Island will be incomparably safe." "Oh? Is that so?" Leslie gave a shrug, looking a bit disappointed. "That really is a pity. I wanted to find some pirates to practice with. The Death God pirates didn't resist at all. It really isn't satisfying." The muscles on Ragsar's face twitched a few times. The Death God pirates didn't resist at all? They resisted at all, but they were easily crushed by you, all right? That. Sir Leslie, can I ask you a question? Ragsar suddenly said. Ask. Sir Leslie, since your new flyer has such a powerful fleet, why are you still causing trouble for us pirates? You're already this strong, why can't you do something? Why waste your time here? Leslie patted Ragsar's shoulder with a smile. You should ask that fellow Sue-E this question, you shouldn't ask me. I'm only responsible for leading this fleet to open the sea for him. I don't care about anything else. But if you're really curious, I can tell you that fellow Sue-E doesn't care about you pirates, rather he cares about the resources on the sea. For example, your Thunderbolt Island has an iron mine, that is the thing that Sue-E cares about the most. Resources? Iron mine? Ragsar was puzzled for a while before he suddenly looked down at the deck he was standing on and suddenly realized. I understand. Not mentioning anything else, just this large ship, how much iron is needed to make it? Leslie revealed a faint smile. He thought that this ship didn't just consume large amounts of iron, there were also many other resources that were included in it. The most important thing was that the medium-sized magic ship under them represented New Flyer's highest achievement in ship technology. It wasn't a problem that could be solved with just resources. Of course, there was no need to tell Ragsar these things. Leslie picked up his binoculars to look at the small island in the distance, and found that the Death God pirates were trying to steal the small boats on the island, trying to escape. Seeing these pirates reveal all kinds of ugly expressions at this time of crisis, Leslie couldn't help shaking his head. If it was up to him, he would definitely uproot these pirates and not leave a single one. It was unknown how many heartless things these fellows had done as pirates. Leslie didn't have any sympathy for them at all. Actually, even with Ragsar standing beside him, Leslie didn't have any desire to cooperate with him. If it wasn't for the fact that he needed someone familiar with the surrounding seas to lead the way, Leslie would have immediately thrown Ragsar and his Thunderbolt pirates into the sea to feed the fish. After thinking about this, Leslie's expression didn't change as he asked Ragsar, Ragsar, is there a detailed map of the surrounding seas? Ragsar shook his head. I'm afraid there isn't. We pirates remember the positions of the various islands based on our experience. Well, that's good. Take us around this area again. Try to visit all the islands within a radius of 200 kilometers around Thunderbolt Island. 200 kilometers. Ragsar looked at Leslie in surprise, thinking that this fellow was crazy. A radius of 200 kilometers might not be an exaggeration on land, but on the turbulent sea, it seemed boundless and boundless. If they wanted to see every single island, it would be an incomparably large project that was almost impossible to complete. Oh, there's a problem with my words. We don't want to see all the islands, rather we want to see the larger islands, especially the ones with resources. Do you understand what I mean? Leslie then said. It's like this. Ragsar let out a sigh of relief. He quickly went through the surrounding seas in his mind and filtered out the islands that met the requirement. According to what I know, there are around 20 islands that are larger than Thunderbolt Island. As for whether they have the resources you need, I'm not too clear. All right, let's go around these 20 islands first. After we've figured everything out, we'll continue to explore the Eastern Sea region. Continue to the east? Ragsar was stunned. Sir Leslie, if we keep going east, we'll leave the Kingdom of Ruhr's seas and enter the Canla Empire's seas. What? Is there a problem? Leslie asked back. Ragsar quickly shook his head. No problem, no problem. Only the Canla Empire's seas are over 10 times bigger than our Kingdom of Ruhr's seas, so the pirates there are over 10 times stronger than the Death God pirates. I'm worried. There's nothing to worry about. Leslie waved his hand. I am the man who will become the Pirate King. No matter what kind of pirate group dares block me, they will all die. Ragsar looked at the confident Leslie in a daze. He thought that this fellow looked to be around 30 years old, but why did he speak like a hot-blooded youth in his teens? Chapter 696. It was another year of spring. When it was April, Banta City became lively again. Because it was time for the spring bicycle race in Banta City, there were many people who loved cycling that came from all directions. These people didn't just come from Banta City, they also came from cities other than Banta City. There were many people who came from countries other than the Lampari Kingdom. The most exaggerated thing was that there were people from the Norton Duchy that was over 2,000 kilometers away from Banta City to participate in this race. Although starting in February of this year, because the Amsterdam Chamber of Commerce had built a road that connected the entire Norton Duchy, as well as connecting it to the roads of the Lampari Kingdom and the Kingdom of Ruhr, the Fersen Transport Chamber of Commerce had taken this chance to open a long-distance public transport line from the Norton Duchy to the Lampari Kingdom, making it quite convenient to come here. But the road was over 1,500 kilometers. Even if they took the public transport magic car, it would take close to 3 days to get here. When the reporter of the Banta Times received this news, he specially interviewed this participant who had come from afar. In response to the reporter's question, the participant from the Norton Duchy said that this was a dream that he had had since he heard that there was a professional bicycle race in Banta City that had been organized for several years. No matter how far it was, he would definitely participate. This report was published in the Banta Times, and was reprinted by the newspapers of the Lampari Kingdom and the surrounding countries, which made everyone even more excited. For a while, Banta City was filled with people and it was very lively. It was even several times livelier compared to a normal festival. But after this year's race, for Banta City, the Shinfei bicycle race that was held twice a year was treated as a festival by the people. Even the Banta City's City Lord Manor, in order to coordinate with this race, had specially arranged for the various companies and factories in Banta City to have 3 days off each year, so that people could participate in this celebration. This year's spring bicycle race was even more eye-catching than the previous ones, because according to the news that the Frestek Chamber of Commerce had announced in the Banta Times ahead of time, after half a year of preparation, the Frestek Chamber of Commerce led the other 7 magic machine companies that produced bicycles to hold a road bicycle race after this year's spring bicycle race. New Flyer and the other 7 bicycle companies would each organize a professional bicycle team to participate in this race, competing for the championship together. According to the announced rules, this championship would start after the Frestek Road Bicycle Race's spring race and end before the Frestek Road Bicycle Race's fall race in October each year. It would last for half a year. For now, the tournament would only be held in 8 cities in the Lampuri Kingdom. There would be a champion in each round and then points would be given based on the rankings in each round. In the end, the final champion and the rest of the rankings would be decided based on the accumulated points of the 8 round. At the same time, according to the news that New Flyer had revealed, starting next year, the race would most likely be held in cities outside the Lampari Kingdom, while also expanding the scale of the race. But for the citizens, what they cared about the most wasn't the details of the race, but rather the prize money. When New Flyer announced last year that they would be holding this race, they had said that the champion would receive a terrifying prize of over 50,000 gold coins, which had already shocked everyone. But when the Frestek Chamber of Commerce officially announced the tournament this year, the prize money that was revealed made everyone unable to believe their eyes. 100,000 gold coins. The cyclist who won the championship would receive a minimum of 100,000 gold coins as prize money. Almost everyone held their breath for a moment when they saw this number. God, the Frestek Chamber of Commerce must have gone crazy. 100,000 gold coins. What kind of concept was this? It had to be known, 100 gold coins was enough for a normal family to live a carefree life for a year. 100,000 gold coins, That was equal to the annual income of some small cities in the Lampari Kingdom. Even if they had seen New Flyer's crazy actions countless times, seeing this terrifying prize money this time, everyone could smell the scent of madness. Perhaps it was because of this prize money, most people focused on the bicycle race that was about to be held. It made people pay less attention to the Xinfei Spring Bicycle Race. However, New Flyer and the other bicycle companies that were organizing the bicycle race released a statement in the Banta Times that pulled everyone's attention back. In this statement, New Flyer and the other 7 bicycle companies stated that the Xinfei Spring Bicycle Race was the first stage of the Xinfei Bicycle Race. Their 8 companies would pay attention to the competitors who performed well in the Xinfei Spring Bicycle Race and choose the best of them to join their own teams. According to the information released by the 8 companies, once one joined one of the 8 companies' teams and became a professional bicycle racer, they would receive at least 500 gold coins a year. At the same time, they would receive a competition prize. Calculating it all, even if they couldn't receive a terrifying sum of 100,000 gold coins, it wouldn't be hard to earn several thousand gold coins a year. Once this news was released, everyone's enthusiasm for the spring bicycle race in Xinfei was raised again. This time was different from the previous years. If one performed well in the race, they could join a professional bicycle team and become a professional bicycle racer, earning a large income. So the atmosphere was different from the previous years. There were a bunch of people who were eager to get a good result in the race, trying to be noticed by a professional bicycle team. The competition was very intense. In this kind of wild atmosphere, the other piece of news that the Frestec Chamber of Commerce announced through the Banta Times was unavoidably ignored by people. The content of this news was that New Flyer was planning to build a racetrack outside Banta City, holding a magic sedan race there. This racetrack had already been held in the Principality of Constantine for over a year, so it was very popular in the Principality of Constantine. But this was the first time it had appeared in the Lampari Kingdom, so naturally it didn't attract that much attention. Other than this, there was another main problem. Compared to bicycles that only cost several dozen gold coins, even the most expensive professional bicycle cost at most 100 gold coins. Even the cheapest magic sedan cost over 1,000 gold coins, which was not something normal people could touch. So the magic sedan was something that belonged to another world to most normal people. It wasn't that related to them, so naturally the magic sedan race wouldn't attract their interest. Of course, normal people didn't care, but that didn't mean that no one cared. Since New Flyer's first magic sedan was released, in less than 2 years, they had already sold over 73,000 magic sedans. Although it paled in comparison to the sales of over 1 million bicycles, it wasn't a small number. Just in the Lampari Kingdom, the Xinfei brand magic sedans had sold over 40,000 units. In Banta City, there were over 15,000 magic sedans. The reason for this was because the magic sedans were first released in Banta City, so they were accepted the fastest. On the other hand, it was because of the development of the New Flyer in Banta City, so the economy was developing very well. Other than the traditional nobles and merchants, there were many normal citizens who became rich. Take Old Man Sarkozy, who had been transporting goods for the New Flyer. He was just a normal farmer before, but after transporting goods for the New Flyer and other companies, he had accumulated over 5,000 gold coins. Last year, Old Man Sarkozy had taken out 1,500 gold coins to buy the New Flyer's newest magic sedan. And this was just one example. In Banta City, there were countless people like Old Man Sarkozy who relied on their own hard work to become rich in just a few years. For many people in Banta City, the magic sedan wasn't something that couldn't be reached. Of course, being able to buy a magic sedan and being qualified to participate in a magic sedan race were two different things. For someone like Old Man Sarkozy, the magic sedan was something he could afford, but it was very precious and he wasn't willing to let it be damaged. If it was used in a race, there might be some accidents, so normal families definitely couldn't afford to play with it. So like this, the only ones who were interested in the magic sedan race were those who had good financial conditions, so they wouldn't feel bad even if one or two cars broke. At the same time, these people needed to have a lot of free time, so they had enough energy and stamina to prepare for the magic sedan race. After these conditions were filtered out, there weren't many people who met the requirement. In Banta City, there were less than 50 people who were willing to participate in the magic sedan race. Without an exception, these 40 people were all rich second generations of large nobles and merchants in Banta City. The only remaining member of the Stag family in the Lampuri kingdom, Baron Belil, was one of them. Chapter 697. Chairman Su, last time you promised me. That new Fire Series Magic Sedan, how is it now? This time. Oh no, is there any hope of making it this month? Seeing Baron Belil with a nervous look and a trace of respect in his eyes, Su-yi couldn't help smiling. He thought that the matters of the world really were hard to predict. The first time he met Baron Belil, he had come to Banta City on behalf of the Stag family. He had taken over Viscount Leslie's management of the Stag family's territory in Banta City, and the first thing he did was chase out the new flyer from his territory. Baron Belil had been very arrogant back then, looking down on Su-yi like he didn't place Su-yi and the new flyer in his eyes at all. But now that 4 years had passed, the Stag family had disappeared because of the civil war in the Lampari kingdom, turning into history. If it wasn't for Leslie, Su-yi had specially asked Seveni for mercy, the entire Stag family would have died. There were only a few people left in the Stag family. Among the direct relatives, other than Leslie, there was only Baron Belil left. Seveni had given Su-yi face, so not only did she keep Baron Belil's name, she even kept his title and the small piece of land in Banta City. This meant that compared to before, other than the influence of the Stag family's demise, Baron Belil's life hadn't changed at all. At the same time, with Leslie's special instructions, Su-yi had pointed out a path for Baron Belil. He had him cooperate with several magic machine companies in Banta City, earning tens of thousands of gold coins each year. His life wasn't bad. Of course, compared to the first time they met, Baron Belil didn't have the slightest bit of arrogance when facing Su-yi. Rather, he was respectful and had a bit of flattery in his eyes. There's definitely no hope this month, but if it goes smoothly, I think the experiment should be complete by next month. Su-yi shook his head as he replied. Next month. Baron Belil was disappointed. I even bragged to those fellows that I would be able to get your new flyer's newest magic sedan this month, which could even reach 100 kilometers an hour. Su-yi laughed. Relax, as long as the newest magic sedan is developed, I will give you the first one and guarantee that you'll have face in front of those fellows. How about it? Baron Belil nodded with a smile. Yes, yes. Chairman Su, you've always been kind, I understand. But, if it can be faster, I hope it can be as fast as possible. After saying this, Baron Belil mysteriously looked around before coming to Su-yi's side and saying in a low voice, His Highness Frank is also very interested in this new magic sedan. Su-yi raised his eyebrows. His Highness Prince Frank also knows? Baron Belil chuckled with a pleased expression. I wrote a letter to him before, specifically describing the benefits of the magic sedan. His Highness Frank said that he was very interested in it and even asked me to give him one to try. Su-yi slowly nodded. After thinking for a bit, he said, Belil, tell His Highness Frank that if he is interested in the magic sedan, our new flyer is willing to give him the newest magic sedan. If he is interested in the engine, when the new Fire Series magic sedan is developed next month, we will give him one as soon as possible. Gift? Baron Belil had a look of envy. Baron Belil's face was filled with envy. Chairman Su, how about you give me one as well? Hey, your newest magic sedan would cost several thousand gold coins, right? I'm a bit short on money right now, hey. Sue calmly looked at him. If you can get His Highness Frank to accept our company's gift, it isn't a problem for me to give you 2 new Fire Series Magic Sedan. This. Baron Belil's face immediately became bitter. His Majesty is very strict with the princes. He doesn't allow them to accept gifts from others, not to mention gifts from merchants. His Highness Frank is also very worried about this, so this request. If you can do it, I'll give it to you, otherwise there's no need to discuss it. Sue cut Baron Belil off. Baron Belil gave a bitter laugh as he turned in a few circles, muttering to himself. Sue shook his head with a smile and reminded him, Belil, I'm not asking His Highness Frank to accept our gifts for free. I just want him to have a magic sedan, and I don't care how he gets it. Do you understand what I mean? Baron Belil suddenly stood up and his eyes lit up. Really? Sue nodded with a faint smile. Baron Belil was instantly excited as he laughed. His eyes turned before he loudly said, This is much simpler. Chairman Sue, if I help you with this, can you? No problem, the conditions I just gave are still valid. Alright. Baron Belil was afraid that Sue would go back on his words, so he immediately replied in a loud voice. Chairman Sue, just wait for my good news. Seeing Baron Belil excitedly leave, Sue couldn't help shaking his head with a smile. This Baron Belil didn't have any talent, but he had something that Sue cared about. It was that his aunt had married into the Canla Empire, marrying a Lord Count of the Canla Empire. His aunt's remaining daughter, who was Baron Belil's cousin, had been chosen by the Canla Empire's third Prince Frank de Boer and taken in as a concubine. So calculating it, Baron Belil was actually related to a noble prince of the Canla Empire. Moreover, the two of them had been writing letters, so their relationship wasn't bad. Before Leslie left the new flyer for the sea, he had mentioned this relationship with Baron Belil to Sue, so Sue immediately used it. Right now the new flyer was trying their best to open the market in the Canla Empire. Although they had already opened the door through Ambassador Hakkinen, if they could establish a relationship with a prince, there was no doubt that it would be beneficial to the new flyer's market expansion in the Canla Empire. Sue didn't expect His Highness Frank to put the new flyer in his eyes. After all, the difference between them was too big. So he just needed His Highness Frank to be interested in the magic machines. As long as he could accept the magic machines and test them himself, with him as an example, the magic machines would quickly become popular in the Canla Empire. Perhaps other magic machines couldn't move His Highness Frank, who had lived a good life since he was young, but the magic sedan was a new form of transportation that far surpassed horse carriages. Sue was certain that he would be interested in it. His Highness Frank wasn't even 30 yet, so he was still a young envoy. And for a man of this age, how many of them wouldn't be interested in racing cars? Sue didn't know what method Baron Belil would use to get His Highness Frank to buy a magic sedan, but as long as His Highness Frank had a magic sedan, with the attraction of the magic sedan, Sue was confident that the magic sedan would quickly become popular among the nobles of the Canla Empire, allowing the new flyer to enter the eyes of the upper class of the Canla Empire. If it was said that the normal household magic machines were on the low end, then for the expensive magic machines like the magic sedan, Sue was on the high end. With these two things, he didn't believe that the magic machines wouldn't sell well in the Canla Empire. Hey Sue, you're smiling so happily. Could it be that you've established a relationship with His Highness Frank through Baron Belil? A voice came from behind Sue. Turning to look, it was the Amsterdam Chamber of Commerce's Chairman Cruz. Compared to Sue's confident smile, Chairman Cruz's smile was a bit forced and one could see a bit of bad luck from it. Sue naturally understood where this bad luck came from. The Amsterdam Chamber of Commerce's sales of roads in the Canla Empire had never attracted the attention of any high-level people. Even if people had asked about it, because the roads couldn't bring any benefits, no one cared about them in the end. After several months, the situation hadn't changed at all. It could be said that the Amsterdam Chamber of Commerce's actions in the Canla Empire had completely failed. They couldn't open the market in the Canla Empire as planned, so it was no wonder Chairman Cruz was unhappy. I can't say that I've established a relationship for now, but it shouldn't be a big problem. Sui replied with a smile. What? You still haven't made any progress? Chairman Cruz sighed. That's right. I really don't understand. Our Lampari Kingdom, the Kingdom of Ruhr, the Drake Duchy, and the Mirando Duchy all understand the importance of roads, but why doesn't a big empire like the Canla Empire understand this point? Sui shrugged. Maybe it's because the Canla Empire is too big, so they can't directly experience the benefits of roads. When we were building roads in the Lampari Kingdom, didn't we also hit a wall at the beginning? If it wasn't for our new flyer taking the lead in building a road, I'm afraid that the people of the Lampari Kingdom still wouldn't understand the benefits of road. That's right, if we could build a road in the Canla Empire, I can guarantee that the people of the Canla Empire would definitely find the benefits of roads. Chairman Cruz looked at Sui and hesitated. Sui couldn't help smiling. All right, Cruz, just say what you want to say. If you want to use His Highness Frank's relationship, I can only say that it's still too early. Being seen through by Sui, Chairman Cruz didn't look embarrassed at all. He laughed and said, since His Highness Frank is interested in the magic sedan, he should understand that driving on roads is much better than driving on dirt and gravel roads. Sui pointed at the Banta City racetrack that was being built and said with a smile, why do you think I'm holding this race? My novel, Magic Machine Industry Empire, will have even more new content on the official WeChat platform, and there will be a 100% lottery for everyone. Open WeChat now and click the plus sign on the top right to add friend. Search for the public account, Kdred, and follow it. Hurry up! Chapter 698. No matter how much Sui wanted to promote racing on the signs, because the Magic Sedan wasn't popular and the foundation was too weak, this race didn't attract that much attention. Compared to the Frestec Bicycle Race's spring race and the Frestec Bicycle Race's first Banta Station race, it was far from enough. Even if there were quite a few people paying attention to the Frestec bicycle race before, it was only limited to people who were interested in cycling and had hobbies in this area. Most people who participated in this race just wanted to participate. However, now that the new flyer and the other 7 companies said that they would pick the best racers to join their teams, countless people used this race as a springboard. This year's Frestec Bicycle Races competition was much more intense than before. There were even many people who went all out during the race that resulted in injuries. It was a good thing that Sui had already given advice to Banta City's city lord, Count Will, so Banta City had made enough preparations, allowing this race to go smoothly. Because of this race and the championship that followed, the Xinfei bicycle race team that won the race received a large 5,000 gold coins prize. This attracted the jealousy of countless people, and they used the Xinfei bicycle race as a springboard to show themselves. Along with this, the sales of the new Flyer bicycle race team greatly increased. In the spring of each year, the Frestec Chamber of Commerce's sales would be the highest. Because of the influence of the 2 events this year, the sales of the Frestec brand bicycles in the surrounding countries had almost doubled. In just April, the new Flyer bicycle race team had sold 34,000 Xinfei brand bicycles. From these 34,000 bicycles, the new Flyer bicycle race team had earned a shocking 400,000 gold coins in profit. Moreover, it wasn't just the new Flyer bicycle race team. The other 7 companies that had organized the bicycle race team with the new Flyer bicycle race team also had a large increase in sales. According to what people said in private, since these 7 companies had the qualifications to organize a bicycle race with the new Flyer, it proved that they had received the recognition of the new Flyer. Since this was the case, Even if the quality of their bicycles was not as good as Xinfei brand bicycles, they should still have their own merit. In addition, these 7 companies' bicycles were cheaper than the Xinfei brand bicycles. Naturally, countless people flocked to them. And this phenomenon led to another follow-up. After finding out that these 7 companies had collaborated with New Flyer to organize the bicycle championship, the other companies couldn't sit still any longer. They all went to New Flyer and applied to New Flyer, hoping that they could join the championship. Su-yi was already prepared for this, so he quickly introduced a tournament qualification system. According to the rules, the bicycle race would be expanded to 12 participating companies within 3 years. However, New Flyer would conduct a strict examination of every participating company. In the examination, the most important thing was whether the quality of each company's bicycles met the standards. New Flyer said that only companies that met the standards would be considered by New Flyer. Moreover, even for the other 7 companies that were allowed to participate, they needed to be examined once a year. If they couldn't meet the standards, they would be forced to withdraw from the championship. Next, the companies that participated had to have a complete and professional bicycle team plan. Other than having a professional bicycle team, they also had to have various facilities and personnel. At the same time, they had to have a complete team plan and a corresponding track design, as well as the most important research team. The standards that New Flyer announced were very wide and complicated, with many strict requirements for the details. When New Flyer announced a portion of these standards in the Banta Times, even people who didn't know anything about bicycles could see that New Flyer was very strict with the qualifications of the companies participating in the championship. Moreover, there was a professional aura that made people feel that it was powerful even if they didn't understand. For those companies that wanted to join the tournament, the Frestec Chamber of Commerce's strict requirements were both a challenge to them and an opportunity for them. New Flyer's standards were this high, so if they could enter the championship, wouldn't that prove the strength of their company to everyone? It wasn't exaggerated to say that if a company that produced bicycles didn't have the qualifications to enter the championship, no one would be willing to buy their bicycles. This was simply a death sentence for this company. If one looked at it from an objective point of view, the bicycle race that New Flyer was leading was simply controlling the life and death of all the bicycle companies. This isn't appropriate. Steele's eyes moved away from the Xinfei bicycle race regulations that Su-yi had personally written. She looked up at Su-yi with slightly knit brows. It's not wrong to set such a strict standard, but this dividing line is too obvious. Doesn't that mean that the companies that can't pass won't be able to sell a single bicycle? Then these merchant guilds will have no choice but to die. Su-yi shrugged his shoulders. If they can't reach this standard, then these companies will die. There's nothing to pity about. But if they continue to die, I feel that in the end, the strong companies will only become stronger and stronger. In the end, there will only be a few companies left that monopolize the bicycle industry. There won't be any room for the other small companies to survive. This won't be good for the entire industry, right? Su-yi couldn't help but give Steele a thumbs up as a sign of appreciation. Steele didn't have any experience in this area, but she was able to see this development trend. This proved that her business vision and foresight were outstanding. As the saying goes, great waves wash away the sand. Only by constantly filtering the sand will the true gold that is buried in the sand be unearthed. Eliminate the companies that don't meet the standards, and the remaining companies will be the elite. This will make it easier for the bicycle industry to develop. This point isn't just for bicycles. It's the same for other industries as well. Su-yi said seriously. Steele tilted her head and looked at Su-yi for a while. She smiled. Hey Su-yi, this is just one of your experiments, right? You'll definitely do this in other fields in the future, right? Su-yi smiled but didn't answer. Steele and Su-yi had been married for many years. How could she not see Su-yi's thoughts? She shook her head and sighed. Sometimes I really don't know what's in your head. Why is it that the things you think about are always different from other people's? While other people are still thinking about how to make more money, you're already thinking about the long term. Sue-Yi smiled. That's because my goal is different from theirs. When the goal is set further, my vision will naturally be further. Steele rolled her eyes at Sue-Yi. You're brilliant just because I give you a little bit of perspective. All right, Mr. Sue, what you want to do is definitely not a problem. I don't have any objections to your idea. The only thing I'm worried about is that, according to what you said, when only a few of the most elite companies are left, what if there are problems with these companies? Sui shook his head. Don't be fooled by my cruel words. This time, I've prepared the appropriate measures. I'll give some space to the bicycle companies that don't qualify for the championship, and I'll try my best to help them reach the standard. If they can't develop with my help, then they can't blame me. Alright. You've thought it through. I don't have any more questions. Steele nodded and put down the thick rules of the championship organization. She turned around and rummaged through her bag. Then she turned her head and gave Sue-Yi a sly smile. Close your eyes. Sue-Yi revealed a faint smile and obediently closed his eyes. He and Steele often played this kind of game, which was very helpful for maintaining the relationship between husband and wife. He heard that Steele seemed to have taken out something and fiddled with it on the table for a while. After a moment, Steele's voice sounded. Okay, you can open it now. Sue-Yi opened his eyes and looked at the table. There was a round, flat object on the table which looked like a frisbee. What's this? Sue-Yi asked confusedly. This is a very magical thing. Just wait and see. Steele gave Sue-Yi a smug look, turned around, and pressed one hand on the top of the disc. Then a light purple magic light came out of her hand. Affected by the magic power, the disc suddenly flashed a light purple halo. It was clear that there was a magic formation on the disc and it was being activated by Steele's magic power. But this was the first time that Sue-Yi saw a magic formation flashing a light purple light. This color was different from any of the elemental magic that Sue-Yi mentioned, so he didn't know what kind of magic formation it was. Suddenly, a burst of crisp laughter rang out in the room. Sue-Yi was stunned. There was only him and Steele in this room, so when this laughter suddenly rang out, it was very sudden. Just as he was about to examine it, an extremely faint halo suddenly shot out from the disc. Within the halo, two clear figures appeared. Sue-Yi looked over in shock and found that the two figures were the most famous fox singing and dancing star of the New Moon Troupe, Avril, and another famous elf girl from the Moon Shadow tribe, Bronia. The two girls were talking and laughing in the halo. Not only were their voices clear, even their faces could be seen clearly. It was like two real people had appeared in front of him. But the two of them were talking as if there was no one else around, as if Sue-Yi and Steele didn't exist. Sue-Yi looked at the lifelike Avril and Bronia floating in the air and couldn't help but reveal a shocked expression. When did signs have such high-end technology like holographic projection technology? My novel, Magic Industry Empire, will have more new content on the official WeChat platform. At the same time, there's a 100% chance of a lucky draw for everyone. Open WeChat now, click the plus sign on the top right to add friend, search for the public account Kdred and follow, hurry up. Chapter 699. Steele was looking at Sue-Yi with a smile. She was proud that the thing she took out shocked Sue-Yi, but after hearing Sue-Yi's words, she was a little confused. Holographic projection technology? What is that? Sue-Yi was stunned for a moment before he reacted. That's right. Although the things shown by the flying disc were very similar to the holographic projection technology on Earth, it was obviously not a holographic projection. At the very least, there was no power source or holographic projection light source here. The image seemed to be directly projected from the flying disc. It was almost the same as the holographic projections in the sci-fi movies on Earth. There was no such technology on Earth, let alone in the signs. The most important thing was that the flying disc was obviously engraved with a magic array, which was now being driven by Steele's magic power. But what kind of strange magic array was this? How could it create such a miraculous effect? You don't know? Steele smiled proudly and explained, "This is the illusion magic array I learned from Elder Undine last time." Elder Undine? Su-Yi's expression was a little strange. Ever since Su-Yi went to the Azhara tribe and met with Elder Undine and brought Rumi to the new flyer, Elder Undine had come to the Principality of Constantine several times because of the cooperation agreement between the two sides. Su-Yi and Steele would go to see her every time. Perhaps it was purely because of her love for Steele, or perhaps it was because of other reasons, but Elder Undine was very close to Steele and even personally taught her a few elven magic spells. Su-Yi had never asked about this, but now it seemed that this illusion magic array was one of them. Su-Yi curiously approached the flying disc and looked down to observe the magic array engraved on the flying disc, but he found that he couldn't figure it out at the moment. How does this illusion magic array work? Why did you record Avril and Bronia? Su-Yi asked. This magic array isn't that complicated. As long as it's set up in advance, it can record everything that happens within the range of the magic array's influence from the beginning to the end. As long as it's reactivated using another method, it will automatically release these images again. Isn't this just a camera? Su-Yi muttered. He motioned for Steele to continue activating her magic power, and then circled around Avril and Bronia in midair. After careful observation, he discovered that the illusion projected by the magic array was three-dimensional, unlike the two-dimensional images produced by the camera. The projected image perfectly presented everything that had happened between Avril and Bronia during this period of time. It was extremely clear, and every angle could be recorded in its entirety. Su-Yi even secretly took a look, and through the gaps in their clothes, he could clearly see the undergarments they were wearing. If this thing is used for stealing, it's simply a divine weapon. Su-Yi couldn't help but praise in his heart. After motioning for Steele to stop, Su-Yi pondered for a moment and asked, "Steele, you showed this to me. Do you have any thoughts?" "Of course." Steele picked up the flying disc. "Look, after I learned this illusion magic array, I've been thinking about it. Since this magic array can perfectly record everything that happened within the range of the magic array, it can even record the sound. Then if I let Avril and the others sing and dance in the magic array, wouldn't it be recorded? Then I can take the recorded illusion magic array and broadcast it to more people. Wouldn't that allow people who didn't have the chance to see the New Moon Troupe perform live to see their wonderful performance?" Su-Yi couldn't help but laugh and loudly praised, "Steele, you're too smart." "That's right, this is a very good idea, I support it very much. But, Steele, I've thought about it, this illusion magic array can be used in even more places." "What did you think of? Let me hear it." Steele had an excited expression as she urged. Su-Yi always had some strange ideas that other people didn't have, and they were often very effective. Steele understood this very well. "Look, since you want to use this illusion magic array to record songs and dances for others to see, then have you thought about using this illusion magic array to record more fun things?" "What's fun about it?" Steele asked back in confusion. "For example, we can use this magic array to record a complete story. When you read those casual novels, don't you always fantasize about how good it would be if someone could perform the story? If someone performed the story in front of you, wouldn't you want to see it?" "Of course I would," Steele immediately replied. "But what's the difference between this and an opera? When I said recording songs and dances, that also includes recording an opera. In short, as long as it's our New Moon Troupe's performance, I will record it. This way, more people will be able to enjoy our New Moon Troupe's performance and let more people know about our New Moon Troupe and the girls in the troupe." No, 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 I'm not talking about an opera. Sui shook his head. Actually, I feel like the opera is very strange because it's completely different from real life. Who have you seen singing and dancing in real life while talking to people? This is just a way to perform. Steele pouted. Why don't you like it? This has nothing to do with whether I like it or not. I'm just saying that an opera performance doesn't feel real enough. So what I'm trying to say is that we can use this illusion magic array to record a scene that is very close to real life and then use the most realistic method to show a wonderful story. Do you think that a lot of people will watch this kind of thing? Steele fell into deep thought. After a while, she seemed to be a bit uncertain as she lightly nodded. Maybe, but I can try. Don't worry, I'm 100% sure that if you can do this, you'll be welcomed by everyone. Sui said seriously. Steele, maybe you think that this illusion magic array is just for fun, but in my opinion, this illusion magic array that you've learned from Elder Undine can completely change the entertainment industry in the signs. Is it that exaggerated? Steele didn't seem to believe it. Sui chuckled. It's up to you to believe it or not. How about this, you can use this time to think about the performance I just talked about and then try to record it. I'll find some time to write a script and you can find some people to perform according to the script. Script? Steele looked at Sui with a face of surprise. You can write a script? Sui gave a soft snort and raised his nose. There's nothing I can't do. All right, look at how proud you are. Steele smiled as she reached out a finger to touch Sui's nose. After thinking about it, she waved her hand at Sui. All right, I'll think about this now and try to do an experiment first. As for you, I'll give you a week to write a script for me. How about it? Can you do it? Sui closed his legs and gave a serious bow to Steele. I promise to complete this task. Your Majesty. Steele gave a laugh. You should save this for 70. Steele quickly left after saying this. Seeing her thinking while walking, Sui was worried that she would hit her head on a pillar on the way. Turning to look at the frisbee Steele left on the table, Sui took a deep breath and looked a bit excited. Steele might think that he was exaggerating, but he was very clear that he wasn't exaggerating at all. This illusion magic array actually had such a powerful function. It could easily replace the function of countless photographic equipment on Earth. In fact, the effects were even better than the illusion magic array. With this illusion magic array, Sui could instantly think of countless entertainment methods that only belonged to Earth. The movie he mentioned to Steele was just one of them. There were also TV dramas, entertainment programs, concerts, and etc. In short, all kinds of entertainment programs that could appear on television could be perfectly replicated. Sui even thought of the news channels on Earth. If he could spread this model, it would have a heaven-shaking effect on the signs. I never thought that a random spell Elder Undine took out would have such a large effect. The elves really are the most ancient race on the continent, they really do have many hidden precious resources. Sui couldn't help giving an emotional sigh. He sat back down at the table and organized his thoughts. He first looked over the Shinfei Bicycle Championship before adding in a few more details. This championship was indeed something Sui had a deep goal in organizing, so he attached great importance to it. With this bicycle race, the Frestec Chamber of Commerce would have absolute authority in the bicycle industry. If this model was promoted, it would be the same as the Magic Sedan, and the Frestec Chamber of Commerce would also have the right to dominate. Of course, this was all based on New Flyer's absolute lead in the magic machine industry. If the other companies had the strength to compete with New Flyer in the same field, they definitely wouldn't be polite and would come back to compete with New Flyer for control. In the depths of Sui's heart, he longed for this kind of situation. The current New Flyer was just too invincible in the magic machine industry. After being invincible for a long time, he couldn't help feeling lonely. When Sui was sighing, there was a small sound that came from the door. Looking in the direction of the voice, he saw a head poking through the door. My novel, Magic Machine Industry Empire, will have even more new content on the official WeChat platform, and there will be a 100% chance of drawing a prize for everyone. Open WeChat now and click the plus sign on the top right to add friend. Search for the public account, Kdred, and follow it. Hurry up! Chapter 700. Sue glanced at her and laughed. Hey Vivian, come in if you want to. Why are you being so sneaky? A chuckle came from outside the door. Vivian appeared from behind the door. She first gave Sue a playful smile, then reached out and pulled to the left. Come in, don't hide. Master is watching. Sue looked at Vivian in surprise. Is there anyone else hiding? Vivian exerted some force in her hand and pulled out a petite figure that was even more delicate than her. Sue was a little puzzled. Teresa, you're here too? What's wrong? Is there something you need me for? Teresa looked up at Sue, gritted her teeth, and walked in with Vivian. The two stood in front of Sue, but Teresa was silent for a long time. Vivian couldn't help but urge, Hey Teresa, hurry up and say it. Master is now. Sue suddenly knit his brows and roared. Vivian, haven't I said it many times, you're not allowed to call me master anymore? Your slave status was cancelled last year. Vivian stuck out her tongue and giggled. I'm used to it. Besides, calling you Mr. President makes me feel like we're drifting apart. Sue couldn't help but shake his head. What does this have to do with the way you address me? You've been here for so many years. Do you think I won't treat you as family just because of a change in the way you address me? Vivian tilted her head to think before coming to Sue's side. She took Sue's arm and swung it twice before saying, Just let me call you master a few more times, I've never felt uncomfortable like this before. Whatever. Sue rolled his eyes helplessly and turned to Teresa. Okay, Teresa, just say what you want to say. You've been here for a few years, so you should know that I don't like people hesitating. It's better to be straightforward. Teresa nodded. She hesitated for a moment and said in a low voice, President, I want to enter the military magic machine research department. Do you allow me? Why? Sue frowned and asked. Teresa bit her lower lip and said in a deep voice, President, do you still remember the matter I mentioned to you last time? Last time? Sue thought for a moment and realized that Teresa was probably referring to the time when she confessed her origin to him. Teresa had always treated this matter as her big secret. Now that she mentioned it in front of Vivian, it was a little strange. Sue turned his head and glanced at Vivian. He noticed that she was looking back and forth between Sue and Teresa curiously. Clearly, she didn't understand what Teresa was talking about. I remember. What does this have to do with you wanting to enter the military magic machine research department? Sue kept asking. Teresa took a deep breath and calmed her excited expression before saying with a serious look, Because I want to rely on my own strength to help defeat the Sack Kingdom. Vivian's curious look became stronger. She wanted to ask something, but Sue raised his hand to stop her. Sue looked at Teresa for a while and seeing her calm and determined eyes, he knew that she had made her decision this time. After a bit of silence, Sue slowly nodded. All right, since you're determined, I can help you. But I only have the right to recommend you as the president. Whether you can enter the military magic machine research department of the Academy of Magic, you still need to obtain the agreement of Principal Evita. You can apply to her through the proper channels. Teresa had a look of joy on her face as she gave a strong nod and gave a deep bow to Sue. Sir Chairman, thank you. Sue waved his hand. All right, go back and prepare. I'll find time to mention this matter to Evita. Teresa gave another bow to Sue before looking at Vivian. Vivian hesitated a bit before giving a bow to Sue before the two girls left hand in hand. Seeing Teresa leave, a playful smile suddenly appeared on Sue's face. Hey, she couldn't take it in the end? ####. Even if it was calculated, the large and medium-sized transport magic cars produced by New Flyer were more expensive than most of the Xinfei brand magic sedans. If they were to calculate the sales volume of the Xinfei brand magic cars was more than 10 times that of the Xinfei brand magic sedans. In the end of May of this year, the Frestec Chamber of Commerce had sold a terrifying 500,000 transport magic cars. Although the large transport magic cars hadn't been out for long, being less than 2 years, they had already sold 200,000 units, which was comparable to the medium transport magic cars. Moreover, the sales volume of the large transport magic cars had gradually surpassed the medium transport magic cars. According to this trend, by the end of the year, their sales volume would surpass the medium transport magic cars and they would become the main transport force in the surrounding countries. Of course, compared to the most popular small transport magic cars, the sales volume of the large and medium transport magic cars paled in comparison. The small transport magic cars were made by Xinfei merchants for normal families. It was a magic car that was around the same size as the magic sedans, but it could be used to transport goods. Compared to the high-end magic sedans that were sold for over 1,000 gold coins, the Xinfei brand small transport magic cars were sold at a lower price. It only cost 500 to 600 gold coins to buy one. Although this price wasn't considered low, for the families that had become rich because of the influence of the New Flyer, it wasn't out of reach. For example, for the workers of the New Flyer or the other magic machine companies, their monthly income was close to or even over 20 gold coins. In a single year, their income would be over 200 gold coins. Adding in the hard work of the other people in the family, in a single year, it wasn't hard to buy a small transport magic car. Moreover, compared to the magic sedans that could only seat people, the small transport magic car could seat 4 people and could also carry some goods. It was very suitable for normal families or for transporting goods on a small scale. So when the small transport magic car was released, it attracted a lot of attention and was greatly welcomed. In less than a year since the small transport magic car was released, it had already sold over 100,000 units in the surrounding countries. Even if the profit of the small transport magic car couldn't compare to the magic sedans, with the large amount of sales, the New Flyer had earned a terrifying 8 million gold coins in profit. Moreover, the sales of the small transport magic car had even surpassed the sales of the large transport magic cars. According to Su Yi's estimates, it would soon become the main sales force of the Xinfei brand. Among the customers that contributed to the sales, Old Man Sarkozy was one of them. Driving the Xinfei brand small transport magic car that he had bought for less than a month, going at over 70 kilometers per hour on the road from the Mirando Duchy to the Norton Duchy, Old Man Sarkozy felt very comfortable. He had been in the transport business for 3 years, but because he had been driving the medium transport magic car that he had bought before, it was hard for him to go over 50 kilometers per hour, so Old Man Sarkozy had never experienced the joy of driving. But after getting this small transport magic car a month ago, Old Man Sarkozy found that whether it was in terms of maneuverability or agility, this small transport magic car was much better than the medium transport magic car he had driven before. The most important thing was that this small transport magic car could reach a shocking speed of 80 kilometers per hour. Once it went all out, the excitement of the high speed far surpassed the medium transport magic car that could only reach a speed of 50 kilometers per hour. Of course, compared to the magic sedan that his family had just bought, this small transport magic car was without a doubt much less comfortable. It was a pity that because his youngest son got married last month, Old Man Sarkozy had given him this new magic sedan as a wedding gift. Although his youngest son had been in the limelight at the wedding and his daughter-in-law's family were all smiles when they saw Old Man Sarkozy, it made his eldest son and second son dissatisfied, saying that he was biased. Old man Sarkozy had scolded his eldest son and second son, but after attending his youngest son's wedding, he immediately went back to his transport business. According to his plan, if he worked hard for another 3 years, he should be able to save enough money to buy a magic sedan for his eldest son and second son's families. If he worked a bit harder, he could buy one for himself. Then, when he retired at the age of 65, he could drive a magic sedan and take his wife to travel around. When old man Sarkozy was thinking about the future, the small transport magic car suddenly trembled and gave a loud clang sound. Old man Sarkozy was surprised and came back to his senses. With his many years of experience, he could tell that he had been a bit distracted and accidentally ran over a rock. Thinking of this, old man Sarkozy shook his head before taking out a fresh leaf from the bag on the passenger seat and putting it in his mouth. After chewing 2 times, there was a very stimulating spicy taste that came out of the leaf. It shook his mind, and the scene in front of him suddenly became clear. This leaf was something that old man Sarkozy had often used when he was transporting goods. It was very helpful in waking up his mind, and was very suitable for when he was tired from driving. But old man Sarkozy knew that this wasn't a long-term plan. When he was tired, he should find a place to rest as soon as possible. Looking at the road in front of him and not seeing any signs, old man Sarkozy couldn't help knitting his brows. He remembered that he wasn't driving in the Principality of Constantine, where there were all kinds of signs and services, but rather the Mirando Duchy, where the road wasn't finished yet, so the conditions were much worse. This kind of situation often happened when he was transporting goods, so old man Sarkozy wasn't worried. He looked at the sky and the road in front of him before preparing to find an open place to rest. It was already late spring and the night was a bit cold, so there shouldn't be a problem staying in the car for the night. However, when he turned a corner, old man Sarkozy was surprised to find that there was a large sign on the road in front of him. There were several familiar words on the sign. Shinfei Magic Refill Service Station. Old man Sarkozy's heart was filled with joy. He stomped down and the small transport magic car charged at the new building beside the sign. My novel, Magic Machine Industry Empire, will have even more new content on the official WeChat platform, and there will be a 100% chance of drawing a prize for everyone. Open WeChat now and click the plus sign on the top right to add friend. Search for the public account thread and follow it quickly. Chapter 701. The small transport magic car gave a sharp screech as it stopped beside the magic refill station. Old man Sarkozy looked at the side of the road and was surprised to find that this remote and newly built magic refill station was actually filled with people. There was even a group of people standing in the square outside the magic refill station. He couldn't even drive the small transport magic car in to refill a single magic crystal. What is going on here? Old man Sarkozy got out of the car in a confused manner and slowly walked over. Looking over the faces of the people gathered in the square, old man Sarkozy found that he actually recognized one of them. This person was a citizen from a small city in the northwest of the Lampari Kingdom. When old man Sarkozy was transporting goods for the Armani Chamber of Commerce, he had accidentally met him. Why did this fellow come all the way here? Old man Sarkozy couldn't help being curious as he walked over to talk to him. After asking around, old man Sarkozy learned that this person and the people in the square of the magic refill station all came from the northwest province of the Lampari Kingdom. Their destination was Noxus Town in the Norton Duchy. They were prepared to work at the Ankh Magic Chamber of Commerce's newly built magic air conditioner factory in Noxus Town. Old man Sarkozy was a bit surprised. If you want a job, can't you find one in the Northwest Province? Why did you come to a place as far away as the Norton Duchy? This place is over 2,000 kilometers away from the Northwest Province. The person old man Sarkozy was familiar with was called Lodsak. He was an old farmer who had been farming in the northwest province of the Lampari Kingdom for over 30 years. He gave a simple smile when he heard this and replied, "There are only a few factories in the northwest province and the boss is very black-hearted. On the surface they give quite a bit of wage, but actually they cut it all over the place. What we really get isn't even 5 gold coins a month." This time the Ankh Magic Chamber of Commerce came to recruit workers and said that they would give us a wage of at least 10 gold coins a month, so I came after thinking about it. Less than 5 gold coins a month? Old Man Sarkozy raised a brow. Old Man Sarkozy raised a brow. Which company dares to be this stingy? There are still people willing to work for them? Lodsak gave a bitter laugh and shook his head. Of course this isn't possible in your Banta city, but in our northwest province this is a normal thing. There are very few companies that are willing to invest in factories in our northwest province. If it wasn't for all the magic machine companies that appeared in the kingdom, there wouldn't be a company that came to our small city. So for people like me, it's already good enough to have a job. How could I dare to be picky? Besides, no matter what, this is much better than farming, isn't it? After saying this, Lodsak showed off the clothes he bought for 80 silver coins to Old Man Sarkozy with a proud look, saying that it was the best clothes he had ever worn. Seeing the simple smile on Lodsak's face, Old Man Sarkozy couldn't help feeling emotional. With the appearance of the Frestek Chamber of Commerce, Banta City and the surrounding cities developed very quickly. In just a few years, the living conditions of the people of Banta City had undergone a heaven-shaking change. Take Old Man Sarkozy as an example. In the past few decades, he had to work hard to pay his rent each year. Even like this, he didn't leave enough food for himself each year, so he often went hungry. But since the new flyer appeared, now that several years had passed, what Old Man Sarkozy was worried about was what kind of magic sedan he should buy. As for the basic living requirements of eating and wearing clothes, he already didn't consider them. Old Man Sarkozy thought that everyone else would be like him, but now that he saw Lodsak, he found that there were many people in the Lampari Kingdom who were as poor as before. Not everyone could live as good a life as him. Thinking of this, Old Man Sarkozy couldn't help feeling lucky. It was a good thing that the new flyer appeared in Banta City. If it appeared in another city or even another country, would he still be living a poor life like before? Turning to ask the others, he found that although these people had different reasons from Lodsak, in general, it was because the Ankh Magic Chamber of Commerce gave them a higher wage that moved them. Old Man Sarkozy was still a bit surprised. If it's really for a higher wage, there are many companies in the Lampari Kingdom that you can choose from. Not mentioning anything else, there isn't a single company in Banta City that gives a wage of less than 10 gold coins a month. Then because of the new flyer, the benefits of these companies aren't bad, so why don't you consider them? Lodsak and the others looked at each other before revealing bitter smiles. There's no other way. Although the Banta City companies give better wages and benefits, they have higher requirements. People like us don't even have a junior skill certificate. How can we enter those powerful chambers of commerce? Old Man Sarkozy gave a sigh before slowly nodding. Indeed, although the Frestek Chamber of Commerce had spurred the magic machine companies in Banta City and the surrounding cities, allowing these companies to give good wages and benefits to their workers, they had also raised the standards of these companies for their workers. If a normal worker wanted to enter a company in Banta City, they couldn't do it without some skills. That means, this Ankh Magic Chamber of Commerce doesn't require skills? Old Man Sarkozy asked. I don't know. Anyway, when they recruited us, they just said that we were healthy and that we weren't sick or injured. Old Man Sarkozy said, Then did they say what they wanted you to do? They just said that it was some simple work that they could do with just a bit of teaching. Oh, Old Man Sarkozy nodded. He thought that the Ankh Magic Chamber of Commerce should only have a few simple assembly factories in the Norton Duchy, and the components for the magic air conditioner shouldn't be produced in the Norton Duchy. Thinking about it, he felt that this was right. The production process of the magic air conditioner was very complicated. It required many steps and many components. Other than the new flyer that had a complete production system for the magic air conditioner, the other companies didn't have this ability right now. They could only buy components from various factories and add in the parts they made themselves. Moreover, the factories that produced the components were mainly gathered around the Black Rice Wasteland and Banta City. If they wanted to build a magic air conditioner factory in the Norton Duchy like the Ankh Magic Chamber of Commerce, they could only ship the components here. If they wanted to produce components in the Norton Duchy, they had to solve the various problems in terms of technology first. Right now, other than the new flyer, there wasn't a single company that could solve these problems. Thinking of this, Old Man Sarkozy found that Lodsack coming to the Norton Duchy that was over 2,000 kilometers away to find work was inevitable. This means, you're planning on working here for a few years? Old Man Sarkozy asked. Lodsack nodded. If it's possible, I want to work here for a few years. Look, I can earn at least 10 gold coins a month, and the Ankh Magic Chamber of Commerce has promised to take care of our food and lodging. As long as I save a bit, I can earn 100 gold coins a year. This is a large amount of money, and after working here for a few years, I'll have everything. Old Man Sarkozy replied with a smile. Although he felt that Lodsack was this excited for a trivial 100 gold coins a year, he really hadn't seen the world. But thinking about how if he knew that he could earn 100 gold coins a year a few years ago, he would have been several times more excited, so he understood. The two chatted for a bit, and Lodsack learned that Old Man Sarkozy had 2 transport magic cars. He could earn several hundred gold coins a year just by relying on these 2 transport magic cars, so he couldn't help feeling envious. Old Man Sarkozy comforted him by saying that as long as he saved money for a few years, he could buy a small or medium-sized transport magic car and transport goods like him. As long as he was willing to work hard, it wouldn't take long for him to earn several hundred gold coins a year like him. Lodsack deeply thought of this. So the two of them thought about their beautiful lives and became more and more agreeable. But as it became late, the person in charge of recruiting Lodsack and the others to the Ankh Magic Chamber of Commerce told them to rest and set off tomorrow morning. Old Man Sarkozy looked at the sky and also felt that he should rest. The two agreed to find a chance to meet up in Noxus Town before going their separate ways. Old Man Sarkozy went to the magic refill station first and filled up his small transport magic car with magic crystals. At the same time, he bought some daily necessities and food to ensure that he had enough supplies for the next few days. Although this place was in the Mirando Duchy and wasn't that far from the Norton Duchy, being over 2,000 kilometers away from the Principality of Constantine, the magic refill station was no different from other Shinfei magic refill stations. Not only was there a complete store, there was also a magic water pump that provided clean running water. Old Man Sarkozy washed his face and rinsed his mouth. Seeing that the empty space in the magic refill station was filled with Lodsack and the others, he prepared to go back to his small transport magic car to sleep. When he came out of the toilet of the magic refill station, he suddenly saw a group of people coming in. The leading robust man swept his eyes over the workers lying on the ground in front of the magic refill station and loudly shouted, "The Macallan Chamber of Commerce is recruiting. The lowest salary is 12 gold coins a month. If you're willing, come with me now." Old Man Sarkozy was surprised before revealing a smile. "Hey, there's a good play to watch now. The novel Magic Machine Industry Empire will have even more new content on the official WeChat platform, and there's also a 100% chance of drawing prizes for everyone. Open WeChat now and click the plus sign on the top right to add friend. Search for the public account, dread, and follow it, hurry up. Chapter 702. The burly man's voice woke up everyone who was about to go to sleep. Including Lodsack, the group of people looked at the burly man with strange gazes. Their expressions were doubtful with a trace of vigilance, but they couldn't help but reveal a trace of expectation. 12 gold coins a month. That was 2 gold coins more than working at the Ankh Magic Chamber of Commerce. 2 gold coins in the Lampari Kingdom's northwest province was enough for a normal family to not worry about food for a month. There was a cold snort that came from the crowd as a middle-aged man around 40 years old came out. Whether it was his aura or his clothes, this middle-aged man was clearly different from the normal workers like Lodsack. Old man Sarkozy looked at him and immediately guessed that this should be the Ankh Magic Chamber of Commerce's worker-manager Yodel that Lodsack had just mentioned. Yodel walked in front of this group of people and coldly looked over them. Finally his eyes fell onto the large man who had just spoken, and he said in a cold voice, "What? The Macallan Chamber of Commerce doesn't want to follow the rules?" "Rules?" The burly man sneered. The large man gave a cold laugh. "How are we not following the rules? These people haven't become official employees of your Ankh Magic Chamber of Commerce yet, right? They have already signed an agreement with our company. How are they not official employees?" Yodel angrily said. "What about the agreement? Take it out for me to see." The large man reached out his hand. "Pay. What are you? Why should I show it to you?" Yodel angrily reprimanded him. The large man wasn't angry and just said with a laugh, "If you can't take it out, then you don't have it. Since it's like this, we are competing fairly and there is no breaking of the rules." He ignored Yodel after saying this and turned to the confused workers to say in a loud voice, "Did you all hear it clearly? As long as you join our Macallan Chamber of Commerce, we guarantee a minimum wage of 12 gold coins a month." After saying this, he looked at Yodel and laughed. "This is much better than the 10 gold coins the Ankh Magic Chamber of Commerce gives you. Moreover, our Sir Chairman has said that as long as you do well, your wages will definitely increase." Yodel's heart was filled with rage, but he also became vigilant. This fellow actually knew the wages that the Chamber of Commerce was paying these workers. Furthermore, this time, he had accurately intercepted them just before they entered the Norton Duchy. At the same time, he had also brought along such a large group of people. It was obvious that he had made ample preparations. Rather, whether it was Yodel or the Ankh Magic Chamber of Commerce, they never thought that there would be another company to pick them up, so they didn't prepare a response. If this was the Lampari with the Ankh Magic Chamber of Commerce's influence, there would be 100 ways to deal with them. But this was the Mirando to the Lampari Kingdom, which was 2,000 kilometers to the Mirando to. But this was the Lampari was the Mirando to the Mirando to them to them to them to them. While Yodel was still thinking of a way to deal with this, the people of the Macallan Chamber of Commerce had already started advertising to the recruited workers. Based on their slogan, not only did the Macallan Chamber of Commerce give better wages, they also gave better benefits. Compared to the Ankh Magic Chamber of Commerce, they were without a doubt more attractive. The only thing that made these workers hesitate was that the Macallan Chamber of Commerce was a company from the Mirando Duchy and the Ankh Magic Chamber of Commerce was a company from the Lampari Kingdom, so there was no doubt they weren't as close. But when the Macallan Chamber of Commerce's people said that they would work in the Mirando Duchy and didn't need to go to the Norton Duchy, many people were moved. Seeing that many workers were moved by the Macallan Chamber of Commerce, Yodel was very anxious. But he was only a vice manager of the Human Resources Department of the Ankh Magic Chamber of Commerce. He didn't have that much authority, so naturally he couldn't do that much. Feeling helpless, he could only say to the workers, "Don't be fooled by this Macallan Chamber of Commerce. Don't look at how good their words sound. When you really enter their company, they definitely won't fulfill their promise. Don't forget what you've encountered in the Northwest Province." Hearing these words, the workers began to hesitate again. Yodel's situation was very likely to happen. These people had suffered in the Northwest Province before, so naturally they were very vigilant now. Relatively speaking, because the Ankh Magic Chamber of Commerce was a company from Anvil City and had a cooperative relationship with the New Flyer, naturally they were more trusted. Seeing that the workers were wavering again, the large man gave a cold snort. He took out a document from his chest and said in a loud voice, "Don't listen to this fellow's nonsense. Let me tell you, our Macallan Chamber of Commerce is a first-class company in the Mirando Duchy. We've received the personal approval of the Duke. Moreover, just last month, we reached a cooperation agreement with the New Flyer, opening 5 factories in the Duchy with the New Flyer. Otherwise, do you think we would be lacking people?" Hearing that the Macallan Chamber of Commerce had reached a cooperation agreement with the New Flyer, the nervous looks on the workers' faces relaxed. Since this Macallan Chamber of Commerce could receive the approval of the New Flyer, they shouldn't be a small company that only knew how to swindle people. At least their treatment should be reliable. Yodel was also very surprised by this. He never thought that the Macallan Chamber of Commerce was one of the New Flyer's partners in the Mirando Duchy. This meant that the Macallan Chamber of Commerce was one of the top companies in the Mirando Duchy, otherwise they definitely wouldn't have been chosen by the New Flyer. But like this, the Ankh Magic Chamber of Commerce didn't have any advantage in front of the Macallan Chamber of Commerce. The only thing left to compete was the wages and treatment of the workers. In this aspect, because Yodel didn't have the authority, naturally he couldn't promise the workers anything, so he was very passive. Don't forget, you have all signed a contract with our company. If you don't come with us, you'll be breaking the contract. In this moment of desperation, Yodel could only use the contract to threaten them. However, this so-called contract didn't have any binding force for these workers who didn't have any concept of law. Moreover, after hearing Yodel's threat, the Macallan Chamber of Commerce's large man waved his hand with a smile. "You don't need to worry. Even if you break the contract, our Macallan Chamber of Commerce is willing to pay the penalty for you. I think your penalty shouldn't be that high, right?" The final words were directed at Yodel. Yodel angrily glared at him. "I say, why do you have to steal these workers from us? They aren't high-level workers from the New Flyer. Is it worth it for you to do this?" "Of course it's worth it." The large man nodded. "Our duchy only has people who have worked with magic machines in Ampriston. There isn't a single one in other places. Although these workers aren't that skilled, at least they have done this work before, so it's easy for them to learn. We can't steal high-level workers from the New Flyer, so these people are very important to us." Yodel was speechless because he knew that this large man was speaking the truth. The Mirando Duchy was different from the Lampari Kingdom that had a firm magic machine industry foundation, where there were skilled workers who had worked with magic machines everywhere. It had only been a year since the New Flyer started in Ampriston town in the Mirando Duchy. The magic machine industry hadn't spread across the Mirando Duchy yet, so naturally it was hard to find skilled workers. But this wasn't a reason for Yodel to give up these workers. Seeing that the workers were being persuaded by the Macallan Chamber of Commerce's people, and there were even 2 workers who stood up to leave with the Macallan Chamber of Commerce's people, Yodel was very anxious, but he couldn't think of a good solution. The large man from the Macallan Chamber of Commerce looked at Yodel and revealed a proud smile. "I say, you don't need to be this anxious. Anyway, your Ankh Magic Chamber of Commerce is in the Lampari Kingdom, so you can recruit skilled workers from the Lampari Kingdom at any time. These workers, just treat it as giving them to our Macallan Chamber of Commerce. We will definitely thank you in the future." "Thank you my ass." Yodel cursed in his heart. After thinking about it, his face turned cold and he reached his hand into his chest, preparing to use his final method. However, at this time, there was a clear voice that wasn't loud that came from behind the magic refill station, coming from outside the crowd. It's no problem if you need workers, but directly stealing from other companies is going too far. This peer from the Macallan Chamber of Commerce, please go back and tell your chairman Segura that I'm very unhappy with your actions. The people from the Macallan Chamber of Commerce were stunned. Who was this fellow? His tone was this big? He actually said that he was very unhappy with their actions? So what if he was unhappy? Who cared if he was happy or not? Only the large man's expression changed, as if he thought of something. When Yodel heard this voice, he was stunned before he revealed a look of wild joy. He never thought that this important person would appear here. As long as he was willing to support him, all the problems would be solved. Old man Sarkozy, who had been watching on the side, was also stunned when he heard this voice before his expression became very strange. He never thought that he would accidentally find this magic refill station in the wilderness. It was fine if he met someone he knew, but he could also see a good play. The most important thing was that he would actually meet him. The novel Magic Machine Industry Empire will have even more new content on the official WeChat platform, as well as a 100% chance of drawing a large prize for everyone. Open WeChat now and click the plus sign on the top right to add friend. Search for the public account, Kdred, and follow him. Hurry up. Chapter 703. Sue-E slowly came out of the magic refill station and looked over everyone, pausing on old man Sarkozy for a bit. Then he gave a slight nod to him before walking through the crowd and coming to Yodel's side. Manager Yodel, did your company only send you alone this time? Although Yodel was over 40 years old and had experienced the world, meeting Sue-E here at this time, he couldn't help feeling excited. But after hearing Sue-E's question, he couldn't help revealing an awkward look. Most of the company's people are in the Norton Duchy preparing to open a few new factories. These workers. Sir Chairman didn't think that there would be a problem, so he only sent me and a few subordinates to take care of them. Sue-E followed Yodel's gaze and saw several youths wearing the uniform of the Ankh Magic Chamber of Commerce in the crowd. He nodded before asking, then when you brought people from the Lampari Kingdom and passed by the Mirando Duchy, did you obtain the Mirando Duchy's approval? Chairman Sue, please be assured, we have completed all the procedures and there are no problems at all. Yodel turned to look fiercely at the large man from the Macallan Chamber of Commerce and said fiercely, it's here that we encountered these annoying fellows. Sue-E revealed a faint smile before turning to look at the large man. Where is Chairman Segura right now? Does he know what you're doing now? That large man had been staring at Sue-E since he came out. When he heard Yodel call him Chairman Sue, his expression changed. After thinking about it, his expression changed. Now that he heard Sue-E casually ask about Sir Chairman, he was even more certain of his guess. He looked at Sue-E and carefully asked, may I ask, are you the new Flyers Chairman Sue? Sue-E revealed a smile. What? You recognize me? Hearing Sue-E admit it, the large man and the surrounding people couldn't help taking a cold breath. If one were to talk about the most famous person in the surrounding countries, it would definitely be New Flyers Chairman Sue-E. There was no one else. Although Sue-E was very low-key, the things that New Flyer had done in the past few years were just too dazzling, so everyone had no choice but to focus their eyes on the New Flyer. As the chairman who had created New Flyer, Sue-E was the center of everyone's attention. It could be said that in the surrounding countries, Sue-E's position in the hearts of people had already surpassed a normal company's chairman. This was because no one had ever thought that a single trade association would be able to affect the rise and fall of an entire kingdom. Not only that, but it could also affect the surrounding kingdoms to a certain extent. Moreover, this influence was expanding at a speed that could be seen with the naked eye. In terms of influence, New Flyer had already surpassed the scope of a company. It had become an important existence that all the surrounding countries attached importance to. And now this new flyer's chairman, Sue, who was a super important person in everyone's hearts, had appeared in front of everyone. That large man was a leader after all, so he reacted the fastest. After being shocked for a bit, he first doubtfully looked at Sue before respectfully giving Sue a bow. Based on Yodel's reaction, this Sue in front of him wasn't a fake. Small person Geb greets Chairman Sue. Seeing their leader take out this calligraphy, the other people of the Macallan Chamber of Commerce also gave a bow to Sue. Sue waved his hand and didn't care about this. He kept asking, "All right, Geb, does Chairman Segra know that you stole the workers from the Ankh Magic Chamber of Commerce today?" Geb's expression changed before revealing a look of shame. He shook his head and said, "No, Sir Chairman only hoped that we could find a way to recruit some skilled workers. He doesn't know what we did." Sue smiled without saying a thing. He was certain that Geb was lying. It was impossible for Chairman Segra not to know about this matter. This matter was even personally arranged by him. Otherwise, these fellows wouldn't be bold enough to steal people from the Ankh Magic Chamber of Commerce. Geb saying this now was just to help their Chairman Segra clear of this matter. Seeing that Sue didn't say anything, Geb gritted his teeth and continued, "Chairman Sue, today's matter was due to us subordinates being reckless. We accidentally offended you. I hope that you won't mind. If you want to pursue this, I can go with you to see Sir Chairman and let Sir Chairman personally punish me." Sue shook his head. "There's no need to be that troublesome. I still have other things to do. I'm afraid I don't have time to see Chairman Segra with you. If it was up to me, let's just forget about today's matter. Go back and tell Chairman Segra that as for the matter of skilled workers, I'm currently considering building a vocational training school in the Mirando Duchy, so he can prepare ahead of time." "Really?" Gabu's face lit up. Geb's expression was filled with joy. If Sir Chairman knew, he would definitely be very happy. Sue nodded before waving his hand at Geb. Geb understood and waved his hand at the large men who came with him to leave. Yodel wanted to say something, but he was stopped by Sue. When Geb's group disappeared into the night outside the magic refill station, Sue said to Yodel with a serious look, "Today's matter will end here. The Macallan Chamber of Commerce won't cause trouble for you in the future. Other than that, help me tell Chairman Ankh that our new flyer is on guard in the Norton Duchy, so I can't help him that much in the Norton Duchy. But if there's anything I can do, please don't be stingy." Yodel nodded with a faint smile. "Chairman Sue, Sir Chairman has always remembered the help you gave our company." Sue couldn't help smiling. He thought that Ankh Aaron had always remembered the humiliation he had given him in the beginning. But now Sue's magic power had already entered the realm of magicians. As for Ankh Aaron, he had only gone from a 4th-grade magician to a 5th-grade magician after all these years. Just in terms of magic power, he was more than double Sue's. Not to mention that Sue's position in the magic machine industry was not something he could compare to. Although the Norton Duchy clearly didn't want to cooperate with the new flyer, the Ankh Magic Chamber of Commerce that they chose to cooperate with had obtained the approval of the new flyer, or rather Sue, before entering the Norton Duchy. If Sue wasn't willing, not to mention cooperating with the Norton Duchy, it would be a problem for the Ankh Magic Chamber of Commerce to even survive for 3 months. So Yodel's words weren't polite at all. Ankh Aaron being able to develop the Ankh Magic Chamber of Commerce into a first-class company in Anvil City, earning several 100,000 gold coins a year, was all because of Sue's support and help. When Yodel was about to express his gratitude to Sue for helping him solve this matter, he suddenly noticed the other meaning in Sue's words and couldn't help being surprised. "Chairman Sue, you suddenly appeared here, so you should be heading to the Norton Duchy, right? Since it's like this, Sir Chairman is working in the Norton Duchy right now. If you're willing to meet him, he will definitely be very happy." Sue shook his head. "No, I still have things to do, so I don't have much time. If Chairman Ankh wants to see me, Why don't you wait until I return to the Principality of Constantine? He can come find me at any time. Yodel could only helplessly nod. Seeing that Sui didn't mention what he was going to do, he tactfully didn't ask anymore. Sui chatted with Yodel for a bit before leaving him and walking to Old Man Sarkozy's side. Hey, Old Man Sarkozy, if I remember correctly, you're already 60 years old today, right? Why are you still working so hard, running all the way to this far place? Hearing Sui accurately call out his name, Old Man Sarkozy's old face turned red. He said with a laugh, "This is to make a living. Chairman Su, why would a noble person like you appear in a place like this?" Sui pointed at the magic refill station behind him. "This is the furthest magic refill station from our company's headquarters. I happened to be passing by, so I came here to inspect the work." Oh. Old Man Sarkozy thought that although Sui's answer was an explanation, it didn't answer why he came here. As the chairman, it was impossible for him to come this far just to inspect a magic refill station. "Old Man Sarkozy, is that small transport magic car outside yours?" Sui asked. I just bought it this year." Speaking of the small transport magic car, Old Man Sarkozy immediately became excited. He kept telling Sui about the advantages of the small transport magic car, his voice filled with praise. Sui stopped for a bit with a faint smile before suddenly raising his hand to cut him off. "Old Man Sarkozy, other than the advantages, please tell me about the disadvantages. For us, knowing more about its shortcomings will be more beneficial for us to improve it." Old Man Sarkozy awkwardly scratched his head and hesitated a bit. There are disadvantages, but they aren't that important. After all, nothing can be perfect. No, as a designer, we have to pursue perfection," Sui said with a serious look. Seeing Sui's serious expression, Old Man Sarkozy gave a helpless sigh. He told him about the problems he had with the small transport magic car in the past few months, as well as the improvements he wanted to make. Although it felt strange to talk about the shortcomings of the New Flyers magic machines in front of the New Flyers chairman, he felt very carefree after telling him all the problems. Even if it was him, he knew that Sui had strict requirements for the magic machines made by the New Flyer. If he reflected these problems, it was very likely that the Frestec Chamber of Commerce would improve on these problems. The two talked about the small transport magic car for a bit before Sui suddenly changed the topic. "Old Man Sarkozy, you're transporting goods to the Norton Duchy this time, right? What about it? Then will you be staying in the Norton Duchy for a few days?" Sui asked. "It shouldn't be, I have nothing to do in the Norton Duchy." Old Man Sarkozy shook his head. "Then do you have to leave immediately?" "That's not true. I want to use this chance of coming to the Norton Duchy to take a look around." "All right, if you have free time, I hope that you can help me with something. I wonder if you're willing?" Old Man Sarkozy was a bit surprised. "Chairman Su, if you need someone to help you with something, you can find a lot of people. Why are you looking for me?" "Because I just thought of this matter, and I don't have a suitable person on hand right now. I happened to meet you here and you should be suitable for this job, so I came to ask you. Of course, if you're not willing, that's fine." No, I'm very willing. I'm very happy to be able to help you." Old Man Sarkozy quickly said, "Chairman Su, what kind of job is it? Tell me about it." Sui nodded with a faint smile. "All right. This job isn't hard, but it isn't easy either. It should take some time. The novel Magic Machine Industry Empire will have even more new content on the official WeChat platform, as well as a 100% chance of drawing a prize for everyone. Open WeChat now and click the plus sign on the top right to add friend. Search for the public account, thread, and follow it. Hurry up!" Chapter 704. The next morning, while Old Man Sarkozy and the others were still asleep, Sui had already left the magic refill station and was on his way to the Norton Duchy. Driving the silver magic sedan east along the road built by the Amsterdam Chamber of Commerce, it only took a single morning to arrive at the northern border of the Norton Duchy that was 500 kilometers away. There was no road here, so Sui drove the magic sedan on the bumpy dirt road for a while before a normal-looking black horse carriage appeared in front of him. Sui parked the magic sedan in the woods by the road before getting out and coming to the side of the black horse carriage. The curtain of the horse carriage was opened, revealing Baron Belil's face that was a bit relaxed from drinking too much. Looking at the magic sedan that Sui had left in the woods, Baron Belil licked his lips and revealed a look of regret. "Such a good car, you're not worried that someone will steal it by leaving it here?" Sui looked at him with a bit of a funny look. "It seems like your magic sedan has always been well protected by you?" Baron Belil patted his chest that wasn't that strong and proudly said, "Of course. My 3 magic sedans are my treasures. I normally don't allow anyone to touch them." "When they break, you still need workers to touch them, right?" Sui said this and ignored the bitter look on Baron Belil's face. He nodded at the driver who had been sitting in the carriage in silence the entire time. "All right, let's go." The coachman looked at Baron Belil, and Baron Belil nodded listlessly. "Listen to him." The driver moved his hands and the reins fell, as the 2 horses quickly pulled the black horse carriage to the north. This black horse carriage didn't look strange on the outside, but the inside was very luxurious. There was a thick layer of fur on the floor that was very soft. No matter how bumpy the horse carriage was on the dirt road, it didn't feel uncomfortable at all. Even though it was already the beginning of summer and the weather outside was slightly hot and dry, there would always be a slight chill coming from the bottom of the carriage, lowering the temperature of the entire carriage to a cool and comfortable temperature. Before this, Sui had only experienced such luxury when he rode in the private carriage of the Foucault Chamber of Commerce's president, Fuller Morgan. The rest of the time, he could only endure the pain of the bumpy carriage. Since he designed the magic sedan, Sui hadn't ridden in a horse carriage again. Not to mention that since the magic sedans and the other magic cars appeared, the horse carriages of the Lampari Kingdom, the Kingdom of Ruhr, and the surrounding countries had never been eliminated. Other than a few nostalgic people, very few people would choose to travel by horse carriage. This time, riding in the carriage was actually the first time Sui had ridden in a carriage in the past 3 years. The black carriage drove for about 2 hours on the dirt road before finally coming to a stop. Sui and Baron Belil came out of the carriage and found that they were outside a large manor. This manor was very large and the horse carriage was parked at the gates of the manor. Looking into the distance, they could see a row of buildings on the horizon. Sui slightly knit his brows. Since it was still so far away from the manor, why did they leave him and Baron Belil at the entrance? Could it be that this was the way the Canla Empire's 3rd prince, Frank de Boer, treated his guests? The gates of the manor were made of pure iron, and when the 2 arrived, it was half closed. There was only a small gap, so they didn't know if they could enter or not. The driver who had been silent on the way looked at the 2 of them and said in a cold voice, "You can go in, Manager Como is waiting for you." Sui and Baron Belil looked at each other in blank dismay. When they wanted to ask something, the driver shook the reins and the black horse carriage left. Seeing the black horse carriage leave, Baron Belil's face sank and he couldn't help but snort. But when he thought about how Sui was beside him, he immediately revealed an awkward smile. "This, Chairman Su. I also didn't think that it would be like this." Sui lightly shook his head and turned to look at the buildings on the horizon. He thought that this distance represented the huge difference between his current status and that of the Canla Empire's 3rd prince. "All right, let's go in." Sui pushed Plato away and calmly walked in. Baron Belil was stunned for a moment before he hurriedly followed. The distance from the gates to the manor was 2 to 3 kilometers. Sui's steps were steady but not fast, so the 2 of them took half an hour to arrive. Only when they were close did they realize that the house was surprisingly large. Looking from the left to the right, it was 400 to 500 meters long and the bottom couldn't be seen. In the front of the garden, there was a thin middle-aged man around 50 years old with half of his hair white. Seeing the two of them slowly walk over, the middle-aged man revealed an unhappy expression and coldly said, "It took you half an hour to walk from the gates to here. If you made His Highness wait this long, you would have committed a great crime." Sue-Yi faintly smiled, "But His Highness the Third Prince isn't here, right?" The middle-aged man was stunned for a moment before he heavily snorted and turned to walk into the house. Sue-Yi patted Baron Belil's shoulder and indicated for him to follow. After the middle-aged man entered the house, he casually pointed at 2 chairs on the left and indicated for the two of them to sit. Sue-Yi looked around and found that, other than the middle-aged man, there wasn't a single servant here. It seemed like the two of them weren't guests at all. Sue-Yi suddenly revealed an apologetic smile to Baron Belil. Baron Belil was a bit confused. He was the one who brought Sue-Yi here, but now he was being treated like this. He was clearly the one who had let Sue-Yi down, so why was Sue-Yi feeling apologetic towards him? But he didn't know that Sue-Yi was thinking that if it wasn't for him, if it was just Baron Belil who came here, with his relationship with Prince Frank, he definitely wouldn't be treated like this. As for why he was being treated like this, Sue-Yi didn't think that Prince Frank did it on purpose. This was because he knew that with his status, Prince Frank wouldn't put him in his eyes at all, so there was no need for him to be treated differently. The reason for this situation was most likely because of this middle-aged man, who should be the manager, Como. After thinking about it, Sue-Yi maintained his smile and sat down on the chair as he looked at the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man gave a cough and said in a cold voice, "Let me introduce myself. I am Como, I am the manager of His Highness Manor. Chairman Su, to be honest, you don't have the right to see His Highness right now, so you can just tell me if you have anything." Baron Belil looked at Sue-Yi with a bit of worry. With Sue-Yi's status in the Lampari Kingdom and the surrounding countries, when had he ever been treated like this? If it was Baron Belil, he might have already left in a fit of rage. However, Sue-Yi's expression didn't change at all. He just maintained his faint smile. "All right, but I have a question. I have a question. Supervisor Como, can you make important decisions on behalf of the Third Prince?" "Important?" Supervisor Cuomo shook his head coldly. Baron Belil coldly shook his head. "I don't think that the matter you and I are discussing is important enough for His Highness to personally make a decision." "That might not be the case." Sue-Yi revealed a strange smile. "If it's just giving a magic sedan to His Highness, naturally it isn't important. However, the reason I'm here today is to gift Your Highness a professional racing track and a complete racing team to ensure that Your Highness will be able to enjoy the thrill of racing even more." Baron Belil on the side opened his eyes wide as he revealed a look of shock. Sue-Yi really was a big spender. A magic sedan was very expensive for normal people, but for the respected Kanla Empire's third prince, several thousand gold coins wasn't even considered pocket money. But Sue-Yi had directly given His Highness a professional racetrack, which was worth several 100,000 gold coins. Not to mention that there was also a racing team. This was something that Baron Belil had always dreamed of. But according to Baron Belil's understanding, the racing team didn't just include mechanics, it also included analysts, mechanical engineers, and other professionals. The value of these people alone had almost exceeded the value of a professional racing track. If he wanted to hire this team from New Flyer, he would have to pay 30,000 gold coins for a single service. This kind of shocking consumption, even with Baron Belil's current income, he couldn't afford it. However, Manager Como's expression didn't change at all after hearing this. He still looked like a dead person. "This is just His Highness' interest in entertainment, it isn't considered an important decision, so there's no need to disturb His Highness." But since you're willing to give it and His Highness has agreed, I'll accept it for His Highness." Baron Belil let out a sigh of relief, thinking that it was fine as long as he accepted it. Anyway, Su Yi's goal was this. As long as Manager Como accepted it for His Highness Frank, he would have completed his task. However, Su Yi didn't seem satisfied. After looking at Manager Como, he continued, "Manager Como, I really hope that His Highness can experience the joy of racing, so I hope that I can personally see His Highness in a magic sedan. That way, I can confirm the meaning of my gift." Hearing this, Baron Belil's expression changed. Manager Como was surprised before anger appeared on his face as he roared, "How bold! Who do you think you are? His Highness is already giving Baron Belil face by accepting your gift. You actually dare to make this kind of request?" Su Yi gave a shrug. "I am a merchant. For a merchant, they want to see a return on their investment. And this time, I'm giving His Highness the Third Prince this gift in return. I hope that His Highness the Third Prince will truly like racing. I think that my request isn't excessive, right?" Manager Como flew into a rage. "You actually dare to be this arrogant? Are you threatening me?" "No, I'm just stating a fact." Su Yi looked at Manager Como with a smile, as if he didn't understand the meaning of his words at all. "Good. Very good." Manager Como revealed an angry smile. "I never thought that a merchant from the small principality of Constantine would dare to speak like this in front of me. You're clearly not putting me in your eyes. Have you ever thought that if His Highness knew what you just said, what kind of punishment would you receive? No, it's the opposite. Manager Como, if His Highness knew that I had a way to increase his income by several million gold coins a year, wouldn't he be very grateful to me?" Su Yi asked back with a smile. "Several million gold coins a year?" Manager Como and Baron Belil were stunned, looking at Su Yi like they were looking at a madman. The novel Magic Machine Industry Empire will have even more new content on the official WeChat platform. At the same time, there will be a 100% chance of drawing a prize for everyone. Open WeChat now and click the plus button at the top right to add friend. Search for the public account, Kdred, and follow it. Hurry up! Chapter 705. Are you sure you can make Prince Frank a few million gold coins a year? Your new flyer can only make that much a year, right? Baron Belil asked Su Yi with a look of disbelief, while looking back at Prince Frank's manor that had already disappeared behind the horse carriage with a bit of fear in his heart. Su Yi's attitude towards Manager Como was too unyielding. Baron Belil felt that Manager Como was bragging, so he suspected that Manager Como would fly into a rage and chase them all away. But without knowing why, Manager Como only had a look of disbelief at first before calming down. However, he didn't give Su Yi a clear answer. He just expressionlessly said that he would report this matter to His Highness Frank and let His Highness decide everything. Afterwards, Manager Como sent them off. Baron Belil looked at the calm Su Yi, who even had a faint smile on his face, thinking that this Chairman Su really was a madman. No matter how famous he was in the Lampari Kingdom and the surrounding countries, Prince Frank was a prince of the Kanla Empire. The difference between their statuses was too great. Why would he boast so shamelessly in front of Manager Como? Sensing Baron Belil's gaze, Su Yi faintly smiled. He didn't explain to Baron Belil that New Flyer's annual profits were already close to 20 million gold coins. A few million gold coins was something from a few years ago. But after thinking about it, Su Yi still explained a little to make Baron Belil feel at ease. I didn't promise that I could do it. I only explained a possibility to Prince Frank. Moreover, I can guarantee that as long as Prince Frank is willing to cooperate with me, it won't be hard for him to make a few million gold coins a year. It might even be higher. You're that confident? Baron Belil frowned. Of course. Su Yi's smile was full of confidence. In the end, the Kanla Empire is several times larger than the Lampari Kingdom, the Kingdom of Ruhr, and the surrounding countries combined. The population of the Kanla Empire is more than 10 times that of the Kanla Empire. If our new flyer can make so much money in this small country, of course we can make even more in the Kanla Empire. That sounds reasonable. But Chairman Su, Prince Frank might not believe that you have the ability. What if he thinks you're just bragging? Su-yi smiled indifferently. If Prince Frank doesn't have such courage and vision, it only proves that he doesn't have the qualifications to cooperate with our Chamber of Commerce. Baron Belil couldn't help but take a deep breath. This Su-yi, his tone really was big. What kind of person was His Highness Frank? He was the respected prince of the Kandra Empire. Even in the entire signs, he was one of the top figures. This kind of noble and aloof person, Su-yi actually said that he didn't have the qualifications. As if he could guess what Baron Belil was thinking, Su-yi said to him with a smile, "There's no need to doubt it, this is my judgment as a merchant. If Prince Frank can't see the benefits of cooperating with our company, it only means that he isn't a qualified merchant. This isn't related to whether he is a prince or not." Baron Belil shook his head. He thought that if Prince Frank could think as simply as you, the problem would be much easier to solve. The two were silent the entire way. The black horse carriage carrying the two of them sent them to the border between the Kandra Empire and the Norton Duchy before letting them in. The two crossed the border and used their memories to find the magic sedan that Su-yi had left in the Norton Duchy. When they got in the car, seeing the eager look in Baron Belil's eyes, Su-yi smiled and had him sit in the driver's seat. Baron Belil immediately cheered and jumped in without any hesitation, grabbing the steering wheel. "Hey Chairman Su, this magic sedan is your personal car, it must be better than the other magic sedans sold, right?" Su-yi smiled without saying a thing. Half an hour later, Baron Belil's excitement was completely gone. He slapped the steering wheel and angrily complained to Su-yi, "I say, Chairman Su, this is your personal car. It's fine if you can't run fast enough, but why is it so uncomfortable sitting in it? You are the chairman of the new flyer, can't you have them design the best car for you?" Su-yi revealed a smile. "What? You think that the car I use will be better than the one sold?" "Of course," Baron Belil said. Baron Belil loudly said, "You are the chairman of the new flyer, you are the symbol of the new flyer. If the magic sedan you use is like this, do you think that others will have confidence in your new flyer's magic sedans?" Su-yi had a surprised look on his face. "Is this your idea or the idea of all the people who buy magic sedans?" "This is the idea of all normal people, all right?" Baron Belil looked at Su-yi with a confused look. "How can a chairman use the broken things made by their own company?" Su-yi stroked his chin and fell into thought. "This does seem reasonable. It seems like there's a problem with the comfort that I didn't care about before. All right, when I go back this time, I'll have them design a very luxurious car for me." "That's more like it." Baron Belil patted the steering wheel again. Baron Belil slapped the steering wheel. "How can this broken car match your status? Let me tell you, I don't want this kind of car even if you give it to me." "Then I'll give it to you now, do you want it?" Su-yi asked with a smile. Baron Billy was stunned. Baron Belil was stunned. Are you joking?" "No, I'm serious." Su-yi's expression was serious, it didn't seem like he was joking. Baron Belil was stunned for a while. He looked at the steering wheel in his hand before looking at Su-yi, still not daring to believe it. "This is your car, are you certain you want to give it to me?" "I'm certain." "Do you want it?" Su-yi asked. "I want it." Baron Belil agreed without any hesitation. "No matter how broken this car is, it is still your personal car. Even if the car itself isn't that good, just based on this, it has a high collection value. As long as you like it." Seeing Baron Belil excitedly touching the car as if he had obtained a treasure, Su-yi smiled. He looked at the surroundings through the window and said to Baron Belil, "All right, Drive a bit more and put me down. Ah? Baron Belil was stunned again. Put you down? This is the Norton Duchy. Don't you want to go back to the Principality of Constantine? Even if you don't want to go back, you should at least go to Noxus Town first, right? Just do as I say, Sui said. Seeing Suyi's expression, Baron Belil could only mutter. He followed Suyi's instructions and drove west on the road that led to Noxus Town. After going around a mountain and arriving at a small lake, Suyi told Baron Belil to stop. Seeing Suyi get out, Baron Belil thought about it before also getting out. He was very curious. What did Suyi want him to do by putting him in this barren place in the middle of nowhere? Suyi slowly walked to the lakeside and looked around. Then he took out a pocket watch from his chest and looked at it before looking up at the sky. Baron Belil also looked up at the sky, but he only saw white clouds and blue sky. Other than a few birds flying by, there was nothing else. Chairman Suyi, what do you want to do? Baron Belil couldn't help asking. Waiting for someone to pick me up. Suyi replied with a faint smile. Waiting for someone to pick you up? Baron Belil looked around in confusion. He looked into the distance for a while, but there wasn't a single shadow, not to mention a single magic sedan or even a horse carriage. The two stood by the lake for a while. When Baron Belil couldn't take the doubt in his heart and wanted to ask again, he suddenly found that Suyi's expression changed. His eyes focused on the sky, so he quickly followed his gaze. Looking into the distance, he saw a black dot appear in the sky to the west. It was a small black dot at first, but it quickly became bigger after a while. But after a few minutes, the black dot had become a giant thing. It was like a dark cloud that flew over their heads before slowly stopping. Baron Belil looked up and couldn't help shouting in surprise, Chairman Su, this seems to be your company's magic airship. As soon as his voice fell, the magic airship that was several hundred meters above the ground began to descend. At first, it was very slow, but then it quickly sped up. When it was close to the ground, it slowed down again. Finally, like a falling leaf, it slowly and steadily landed on the lawn by the lakeside about 10 meters away from the two of them. All right, the person to pick me up is here. Baron Belil, although I've given you the magic sedan, it's best if you take a trip to the Principality of Constantine to take care of the procedures. Otherwise, when the Lampari Kingdom starts implementing the road management laws tomorrow, there will be some problems. Ah? Oh. Baron Belil nodded in a daze. He looked at the magic airship and wanted to say something, but he didn't know what to say. All right, I'm getting on the airship, you should quickly leave. This place is still very far from the Lampari Kingdom, so even if you drive the magic sedan, it'll take you a day to get there. Suyi waved his hand at Baron Belil before turning to head to the magic airship. The hatch of the magic airship opened when it landed and Suyi walked into the airship. After waving his hand at Baron Belil, the hatch closed. After a while, the magic airship trembled and left the ground. When it was 20 meters above the ground, the magic airship stopped for a bit before quickly climbing up. This time it was very fast. In the blink of an eye, it was already over 100 meters above the ground and had already flown over 1,000 meters. Seeing the giant magic airship fly further and further away, turning into a black dot in the sky before disappearing without a trace, Baron Belil couldn't help swallowing a mouthful of saliva. Damn! This was called handsome. Compared to the magic airship, the magic sedan was simply a child's toy. The novel Magic Machine Industry Empire will have even more new content on the official WeChat platform, as well as a 100% chance of drawing a lottery for everyone. Open WeChat now and click the plus sign on the top right to add friend. Search for the public account Kdred and follow it quickly. Chapter 706. When the magic airship took off, a collie came out of the front cabin with a proud smile. Hey Chairman, the magic positioning system I made isn't bad, right? Sui took out the watch-like thing from his chest, and seeing the light blue glow on it, he nodded with a faint smile. It really isn't bad, but you're still 5 minutes late. Akali immediately pouted her lips. It's only been 5 minutes. Chairman, don't forget, we had to fly several thousand kilometers to a place we've never been to before to find you. For such a difficult matter, a 5-minute difference isn't much, right? I've said it before, any experiment should strive for perfection. Sui shook his head before looking at the unconvinced Akali and revealing a smile. Of course, the results of this experiment are very good. Not only did the long-range magic positioning system you invented work, the magic airship's first 2,000-kilometer cruise was also a success. So, hearing Sui deliberately dragging out his words, Akali's research team and the crew of the magic airship all perked up their ears. Because according to Sir Chairman's habits, he would normally give out rewards at this time. As expected, Sui paused before continuing with a smile. I'll give you a second-grade reward this time. I'll give it to you as soon as we return to the company. Yay. Great! Sir Chairman, you really are great. Ha ha! Everyone excitedly jumped up. Receiving Sui's second-grade reward, it wasn't just a high reward and benefits. It also meant that their research had received Sui's approval. For the researchers of the new flyer, this was their highest honor. Sui looked at Akali, who was giving high fives to the other researchers, and asked, "That's right, how far away did you find my signal?" Akali stopped and thought for a moment before replying. "It should be around 500 meters. Let me take a look." Akali charged into the front cabin of the magic airship, and after a while, she took out a pocket watch that was similar to the one in Sui's hand, but it was much bigger. She pointed at the data on it and said, "Look, the accurate number is 5,673 meters. As for the more precise numbers after the decimal point, we're still unable to calculate them accurately." Well, it's already very good to be able to get accurate data down to the meter. Keep up the good work in the future. Sui nodded and encouraged. This time, Sui praised Akali from the bottom of his heart. When he first proposed to the Academy of Magic that they could develop a long-distance measurement tool that used magic projection to calculate distance, he never thought that Akali would be able to develop this research so deeply. This long-distance magic positioning system was based on the magic array resonance technology that Akali focused on. With the resonance of the magic array at the same frequency, it could allow both sides to enter a certain range and then use the frequency and speed of the magic elemental fluctuations to calculate the position and distance of the resonating side. This was something that even Sui never thought of before, but Akali had actually thought of it. It made people have to admire her intelligence. Although this long-distance magic positioning system was still in its early stages and because of the limitations of the magic array resonance technology, the range was still very short, not even exceeding 2,000 meters. But with the appearance of this system, it had a revolutionary significance to the signs. If Akali's team kept researching the magic array resonance technology and made breakthroughs, the range and accuracy of this long-distance magic positioning system would be even higher. It was very likely that it would approach the standards of the original world, which would have a deep influence on many things. For example, this time when Sui went to the Kanla Empire to meet Prince Frank's subordinates, he had Evita lead the magic airship all the way from the Principality of Constantine. While doing a long-distance experiment, she had also taken Sui away, relying on this long-distance magic positioning system. If he didn't have this system, the magic airship would be flying several hundred meters in the air, and it would be impossible to find Sui on unfamiliar ground. Of course, if he didn't have a basic understanding of the terrain of the Norton Duchy, the magic airship wouldn't be able to get close to Sui at all. This was all thanks to the map of the Norton Duchy that Sui had collected ahead of time. Thinking of this, Sui looked around and didn't see Evita, so he turned to enter the front cabin of the magic airship. Compared to the middle cabin, the front cabin was much smaller. There was only a central control console and 2 simple seats. Evita was sitting in one of the seats, looking at a book in front of her. "Hey, Evita, what are you busy with? You don't even have time to go out and see me?" Sue-E teased her. Evita trembled before quickly turning around. Seeing that it was Sue-E, she revealed a bright smile and stood up. "Sorry, Sir Chairman, I was collecting the data of the airship landing and taking off in different environments, so I didn't go out to see you. I really was rude." "It's fine, I was just joking." Sue-E waved his hand. His eyes fell onto the thick book in front of Evita as he asked, "Is this the data you recorded on the way here?" "Yes." Evita nodded as she looked a bit excited. "Sir Chairman, we should have done the long-distance cruise experiment a long time ago. Through this experiment, I've found many shortcomings and flaws in the magic airship. If we can improve on these shortcomings and flaws when we go back, I believe that the performance of the magic airship will greatly increase." Sue-E couldn't help smiling. "I say, Evita, the magic airship is your most precious work, so why are you so happy after finding all these shortcomings and flaws?" A confident smile appeared on Evita's gentle face. "Sir Chairman, you've told us many times. Experiments are a process of finding problems, and the more problems you find, the more perfect the experiment is. If we didn't do the long-distance cruise experiment, we wouldn't have found the shortcomings and flaws of the magic airship. If we rashly mass-produced it, there would be many problems in practice and even accidents." After saying this, Evita's expression became a bit serious. "Sir Chairman, you want the magic airship to let normal people fly in the sky. If there is a problem with the magic airship and normal people don't have the ability to fly like magicians, it will become a serious accident that no one can take. So you've always been against mass-producing the magic airship, even going as far as making me go against my agreement with Her Majesty 70. Sue-E asked back with a smile. "Yes." Evita nodded with a serious expression. Evita gave a serious look. "Once there is a problem with the magic airship, the consequences are too serious, so I have to be very, very, very careful." Hearing Evita use the word "very" 3 times, Sue-Yi's expression changed. After looking at Evita, he broke out in laughter again. "Good, very good. Evita, I really wasn't wrong about you. Researching the magic airship is a very careful magic machine. You are the most suitable." "Humph. President, are you saying that my research isn't as meticulous and careful as before?" Akali's unconvinced voice came from behind him. Sue-E turned around and looked at Akali, who popped out with a bit of a smile. He shook his head and said, "This concept is different. Your research project requires a bold and crazy imagination, but Evita's research requires meticulous and thorough consideration of all aspects. Having you do Evita's research isn't suitable. Having Evita do your research isn't suitable either." Akali gave a satisfied nod. "This is more like it." Sue-E couldn't help smiling. He turned back to Evita and reached his hand out to her. "You should have memorized the terrain along the way, right? Let me see the map." Evita replied and took out a small booklet from under the control panel for Sue-E. Opening the booklet, he found that it was made of several detailed maps. The last one included the eastern part of the Mirando Duchy and the western and central parts of the Norton Duchy. But these maps weren't complete because the magic airship had flown from the Principality of Constantine to here, so there wasn't enough time to go around the Mirando Duchy and the Norton Duchy. Sue-E took these maps and took out a simplified version of the signs map made by someone before him, finding that there was a big error on it. Thinking about it, Sue-E felt that there were 2 reasons for this large error. One was that the person who made this simplified version of the signs map didn't have enough conditions, so the information obtained wasn't accurate and the map drawn wasn't that accurate. The other reason was that Evita and the person who made this map didn't have any knowledge of mapping. But this kind of knowledge wasn't important in the signs, and Sue didn't have any research in this area, so naturally he couldn't guide Evita. But there were some small flaws in Evita's map that he could see with a single glance and immediately pointed out the mistake. After they studied it for a while, Akali suddenly asked, "Chairman, why do you place so much importance on this map? Anyway, we just need the general location." "No, that's far from enough." Sue shook his head with a serious look. "An accurate map will bring us a lot of convenience. Not mentioning anything else, at least when you come here next time, there won't be any errors. Of course, there are many other uses." Akali gave a shrug. She thought that Sir Chairman might have some ideas in his heart, but she wasn't interested in this at all. She looked at the map and continued asking, "Then where should we go next?" "Chairman, you said before that you needed us to take you to a further place. That place should be several hundred kilometers from here. It might even be 1,000 kilometers." Sue took the two maps to look at and tapped on them twice. It's here." Akali and Evita looked over and were both surprised. "Sir Chairman, isn't this the ocean?" The novel Magic Industry Empire will have more new content on the official WeChat platform, and there's also a 100% chance of a lucky draw for everyone. Open WeChat now and click the plus sign on the top right to add friend, search for the public account Kdred and follow it. Hurry up! Chapter 707. The endless sea at the beginning of summer was always changing. It was raining cats and dogs, but the next moment, the rain scattered and the clouds parted. The sun shined down and the cold sea was covered in clouds, making it seem like a fairyland. Looking at the figures in the air in front of him, and the shadows of the trees that gradually disappeared, Leslie spat out a mouthful of saliva. The saliva that was salty and bitter from the seawater in his mouth was spat out. This place was already 800 kilometers away from Thunderbolt Island in the sea, and the nearest land was more than 300 kilometers away from the coast. Looking around, not to mention a ship, he couldn't even see a ghost shadow. Other than the flocks of seabirds and the large fish and sea beasts that didn't show their faces, he could only see a few scattered islands in the distance. This place was desolate, but it wasn't barren. Just looking at the large schools of fish in the surrounding sea, Leslie knew that this trip wasn't in vain. The fish near the coast had long become extremely sparse due to the fishing by the fishermen near the coast over the years. However, in the deep sea far away from the coast, there were still countless kinds of delicious fish and even sea beasts. It could be seen that the resources in the endless sea were far richer than people imagined. No wonder he had said to Leslie before, "If you want to be rich, go to the sea." Just by catching the fish in front of him and bringing them back to the shore, they could sell them for several tens of thousands of gold coins. It was enough for a normal person to not have to worry about food and clothing for the rest of their lives. Not to mention the endless schools of fish in the deep sea. They didn't know how many schools of fish they had encountered on the way, but if they could find a way to catch and sell them, it would be enough for countless people to live a rich life. Of course, Leslie leading the new Flyer Guard fleet away from Thunderbolt Island and deep into the sea wasn't to find fish. His main mission this time was to expel the pirates in the nearby seas and expand the influence of Thunderbolt Island. At the same time, he would continue to make a name for himself in the nearby seas and make a name for himself as the Pirate King. It should be said that he had completed this main mission very well. After clearing out all the pirates near the Kingdom of Ruhr, Leslie led the guard fleet east. As long as he heard of pirates nearby, he would take the initiative to challenge them. As for the result, with over 20 medium magic ships and close to 100 magic speedboats, as well as being equipped with countless magic repeating crossbows, magic bazookas, and even several magic cannons, the new Flyers Guard fleet wasn't something that could be matched by the pirates on wooden boats who only had normal bows and javelins. No matter what kind of pirates they were They could not even get close to the new flyer's fleet before they were sunk by the endless crossbow bolts and magic cannonballs, turning into ghosts on the sea. In just a single month, the Shinfei Merchant Guard fleet led by Leslie had created a large name in the southern seas of the Kanla Empire. On the island, these strange ships made entirely of steel were like devils, making people fear them. In the past half a month, as long as the pirates heard that Leslie's guard fleet was approaching, they would immediately choose to run, not daring to have any thoughts of resisting. So in reality, Leslie hadn't fought a single battle in half a month and had been very peaceful the entire time. This made Leslie feel a bit bored. When he decided to become a pirate in the sea, it was to leave the Lampari kingdom. But now that he had been on the sea for this long, he found that he had already fallen in love with this kind of free life. Although life on the sea was very unstable and the conditions were bad, being on the vast sea made him feel a sense of freedom that he had never felt before. The battle with the pirates also gave him great pleasure. He didn't feel guilty at all as he watched those evil pirates turn into ashes. He only felt carefree and unrestrained. The only thing that made him feel a bit dissatisfied was that the new flyer guard fleet Sue-E gave him was too strong. It was so strong that the other pirates couldn't fight back at all. This made him feel like he was bullying a child and he couldn't obtain any pleasure from it. He mentioned this idea to Narvel of the transport fleet, but Narvel didn't give him a direct, but very clear look of disdain. Living on the sea, being able to live peacefully is the greatest wish, who would seek their own death. Leslie wasn't a brute, of course he knew this, but that didn't stop him from feeling bored. Perhaps it was because of the warm sunlight, or perhaps it was because he was too bored, but Leslie suddenly felt sleepy and he couldn't help giving a large yawn. Looking at the calm sea in front of him, Leslie confirmed that there shouldn't be any pirates seeking death, so he thought that he might as well take a nap. According to the goal that Sue-E had given him through Narvel, his next mission was to control the southern seas of the Kanla Empire and open up all the sea routes for the new flyer transport fleet in the southern signs. This mission was very hard and took a long time. It wasn't something that could be done in a month or two. Leslie knew that he might not be able to return to the Lampari kingdom in his life, so staying on the sea was his fate. So, he didn't resist the goal that Sue-E had given him, rather he treated this as his life goal. Of course, this didn't stop him from taking an afternoon nap. However, when he was about to turn and enter his personal cabin, Leslie suddenly felt the ship tremble and slow down. This movement didn't seem like they had hit a hidden reef, rather it seemed like the crew of the ship had found something. Leslie looked up at the lookout at the top of the mast and picked up the magic communicator. "What is this situation?" The lookout's voice came from the magic communicator and his voice was a bit anxious. "Sir, there are a large number of ships in front and they seem to be heading straight for us." Leslie was a bit surprised before his mind shook. Great. Could it be that some blind pirate had come to seek death again? This master was feeling bored and now there are people taking the initiative to come. This really is great. After being in contact with pirates on the sea for so long, the gentle and noble Viscount Leslie in the hearts of the noble misses and madams in Anvilmar City and Banta City couldn't help being a bit vulgar. The lookout wasn't as excited as Leslie, rather there was a bit of panic in his voice. "Sir, it doesn't seem like pirates, because I saw those ships. With the flag of the Kanla Empire. Leslie was a bit surprised. They're actually flying the flag of the Kanla Empire? Are you certain you didn't see wrong? The lookout was silent for a bit before his voice sounded again. Yes, this little one didn't see wrong. It is indeed the golden lion green flag of the Kanla Empire. Leslie knit his brows to think before putting his hand on the railing to the side. Pushing off with his foot, he jumped high into the air. Then, after a few somersaults in the air, He pressed his hand on the highest mast a few times, and his body had directly leaped onto the observation deck that was more than 10 meters away from him. "Give it to me." Leslie took the telescope from the lookout and looked in the direction he was pointing at. Through the lens of the binoculars, he could see that there were about 30 to 40 huge ships on the sea in the distance. Following the current direction of the wind, they were quickly approaching. These ships were at least twice as big as the largest pirate ship Leslie had seen before. They weren't that much smaller than the medium-sized magic ship he was standing on. Leslie had been on the sea for a long time, but this was his first time seeing such a large wooden ship. Moreover, the appearance of these ships was basically the same. Together with the hundreds of smaller ships beside them, they sailed across the sea in a grandiose manner at the same speed. It seemed that their momentum was extremely powerful. Just based on this aura, Leslie was certain that this definitely wasn't a pirate because there wasn't a pirate with this kind of terrifying strength. In this area, other than the fleet of the Canla Empire, it was impossible for any other power to have this kind of strength on the sea. Looking at the giant golden lion and green flag on the masts of the ships, Leslie was even more certain that these ships were the regular fleet of the Canla Empire. But this made him very confused. Why did the regular fleet of the Canla Empire suddenly move out? Why did they come for him? "Sir, the other side is about to enter our range. What should we do? Should we fight or not?" The lookout on the side suddenly asked in a nervous voice. "Fight your ass!" Leslie angrily glared at him. The other side was the regular fleet of the Canla Empire. If they really fought, it would be no different from declaring war on the Canla Empire. Even if Leslie was bored, he wouldn't do something this stupid. Not to mention that Sue-E was currently working hard to cooperate with the Canla Empire, so if Leslie really did this, it would be equal to cutting off all possibilities. Then what do we do? Could it be that we're letting them come to a dangerous distance? The lookout was a bit stunned. Leslie took out the telescope and looked at the 100 ships that were quickly approaching. He knit his brows and thought about it before saying in a deep voice, "Send down my orders. Have all the ships stop, but they have to be prepared to move at any time. Listen to my orders." The lookout gave the order. Leslie silently waited for a bit, and seeing that the ships in the distance were slowly slowing down, he let out a sigh of relief. He jumped off the mast and came to the front of the deck. All the ships of the new Flyer Guard fleet had stopped on the sea. All the ships of the Canla Empire fleet had entered the effective range of the Guard fleet. After moving forward for a bit, they stopped less than 500 meters away from the first medium-sized magic ship. Leslie, standing in front, slightly knit his brows. This distance was already within the range of many bows and arrows. The Canla Empire fleet doing this meant that they could attack at any time. A moment later, a voice rang out from the huge ship at the front. The novel Magic Machine Industry Empire will have even more new content on the official WeChat platform, as well as a 100% chance of drawing a large prize for everyone. Open WeChat now and click the plus sign on the top right to add friend. Search for the public account Kdred and follow it quickly. Chapter 708. The ship on the other side. We are the Canla Empire's third royal fleet. We order you to immediately stop for inspection. If you disobey, you will be responsible for the consequences. Leslie knit his brows even tighter. It wasn't because the other side's tone wasn't polite, rather it was because the other side was around 500 meters away, but the voice seemed to be right next to his ears. It was very clear. To be able to achieve this effect, it was clear that the magicians on the other side had used sound amplification magic. Unless they were like him, being equipped with the magic loudspeakers developed by the Frestek Chamber of Commerce. Taking the magic amplification magic from the crew member beside him, Leslie cleared his throat and tested the effects of the magic amplification magic before raising his voice to say, "The other side's fleet, you have already entered our borders. please immediately stop moving forward, otherwise you will suffer a counterattack from us. This is a warning. Standing on the deck of the first wooden ship, the Kanla Empire's Third Royal Fleet's Vice Commander Kandor was a bit surprised before flying into a rage. These fellows on the other side, they simply didn't know what was good for them. He was leading the entire Third Royal Fleet's first squadron, representing the Kanla Empire's military. These fellows on the other side actually dared to be this rude, they even dared to say they wanted to counterattack? They dared. Kandor gave a cold snort and raised a brow at the vice commander responsible for shouting. The adjutant nodded and continued to stand in the magic circle that the sorcerer maintained. He shouted to the other side in a louder tone, "Attention, people on the other side, this is the last time we are giving you a warning. Stop immediately for inspection. If you dare disobey, we will immediately launch an attack." Leslie couldn't help shaking his head. He thought that these fellows who called themselves the Kanla Empire's Third Royal Fleet didn't plan on talking reason with him at all. But based on their aggressive appearance with over 100 ships, it was clear that they didn't plan on talking reason. Of course, it made sense when he thought about it carefully. The Kanla Empire's royal fleet was responsible for the waters of the Kanla Empire. Now, a mysterious fleet like the new Flyer Guard fleet had suddenly appeared and was moving freely in their territory. Even if they were all targeting the pirates in the waters and had defeated more than 10 pirate groups, in the eyes of the Kanla Empire's royal fleet, this was undoubtedly a slap to their face. No matter how many islands there were in this area of the sea, it was still the Kanla Empire's royal fleet's business. It was none of their business. If this mysterious fleet was a new pirate group, it would be much easier. The royal fleet did not need any warning at all and could just attack directly. However, according to the news that was sent back, this mysterious fleet had only attacked the pirates since they appeared in this area. They had never harassed the normal fishing boats or merchant ship. It was as if they were here specifically to fight the pirate. Moreover, the news obtained from other channels showed that this mysterious fleet seemed to have a certain connection with a certain merchant group in a small country at the edge of the continent. Although the Kanla Empire's royal fleet did not need to put this small country and merchant group in their eyes, as one of the two great empires of the continent, they still needed to maintain their reputation. Therefore, after the royal fleet's third fleet that was mainly responsible for this area confirmed the whereabouts of this mysterious fleet, they decided to first make contact through proper channels. As for bringing the entire third fleet's fourth fleet in one go, it was completely out of concern that an accident might happen. The information collected from various sources showed that this mysterious fleet's combat strength was extremely powerful. None of the pirates in this area of the sea could withstand their attacks. Kandor did not believe this at first and only treated it as an unreliable rumor. He felt that the pirates had deliberately exaggerated the enemy's strength because of their own failure. But now that he saw with his own eyes that there were more than 20 ships floating in the sea not far away. They were even larger than the Thunder-class royal warship under his feet. Moreover, their entire bodies reflected a metallic glow as if they were made entirely out of metal. He was truly shocked. This kind of ship that was completely made out of metal had already surpassed his understanding. In his opinion, no matter what kind of metal it was, its weight was terrifying. The weight of such a large ship was even more outrageous, but they could still float steadily on the sea. This was simply inconceivable. As for how this kind of ship was sailing on the sea, and how fast it was sailing, Kandor had no idea what was going on. However, this did not affect Kandor's confidence. This time, he had led the entire Royal Navy's Third Fleet and Fourth Fleet out in full force. He had as many as 38 Thunderbolt-class supergiant ships and 137 Trainstorm-class mid-sized combat ships under his command, and over 10,000 soldiers under his command. Not to mention the fact that the other side only had 20 ships, even if there were twice as many, He had absolute confidence that he could easily take them down. However, in Leslie's opinion, the 100 ships that Candor was so confident in were no different from a pile of rotten wood. In these 2 months, he had easily defeated countless pirates and had plenty of experience fighting on the sea. Even if the ships the pirates had couldn't compare to the Canla Empire's fleet in front of him, with the quality and battle strength being much worse, after many battles, Leslie already understood that the new Flyer Guard fleet he was leading was using a completely new battle method. Compared to the Sign's traditional sea battle method that was still stuck at firing rockets and finally using boarding battles, the new Flyer Guard fleet's battle method was who knew how many levels higher. Unless the other side also had military magic machines like magic cannons, Leslie didn't think that the other side would pose any threat to him. Thinking of this, Leslie's heart calmed down. After thinking about it, he revealed a smile and didn't care about the other side's warning at all. Rather, he raised the magic loudspeaker in his hand. "Hello, Canla Empire's royal fleet, please allow us to reveal our identities. We are the Guard fleet under the Principality of Constantine's new Flyer Guard fleet. We are just passing through this area. We don't have any intentions of attacking the Canla Empire. Because there are strict rules when sailing, please forgive us, but we can't casually let you board our ships to search." Leslie's words were much softer compared to before, clearly showing that he didn't want to be impulsive with the Canla Empire's royal fleet. However, these words had a different meaning in Candor's ears. "Humph! You're still not willing to let us search? Dole, warn them one last time. If they don't listen, there's no need to be polite." The adjutant Dole, who was in charge of passing on the message, nodded. When he was about to speak, he suddenly found that the 20 steel monster ships began to tremble and slowly move back. Candor's face sunk. "They actually want to escape? This is simply wishful thinking. Pass down my order, immediately attack." The adjutant Dole's expression changed slightly. He thought that the other side had never shown any hostility and had already revealed their identities. They were the guards of a company, so if they rashly attacked like this, it would affect the reputation of the Canla Empire's royal fleet. When he was about to advise Candor, he found that the vice-commander had a stunned expression on his face, like he had seen a ghost. Following his gaze, the adjutant Dole saw a scene that filled him with incomparable shock. At first, the 20 ships were slowly retreating, but after he turned around for a few seconds, when he looked back, he discovered that the 20 ships didn't need to turn around at all. Instead, their speed suddenly increased to an incomparably high level. More than 20 incomparably huge ships raised more than 20 huge waves on the calm sea. In just a few breaths, they had already retreated hundreds of meters away. Dole stared dumbfoundedly at the more than 20 ships that were rapidly disappearing into the distance like ghosts. He thought to himself that although the deputy commander had said that he would launch an attack, the enemy was now more than a kilometer away from the nearest ship. It was simply beyond the attack range of all the rockets. How could he launch an attack? And looking at the terrifying speed of the other side, even if the wind was blowing, it was impossible for them to catch up. Candor also looked at the 20 iron ships in the distance in astonishment. After being stunned for a while, he reacted and shouted angrily, "What are you waiting for? Chase them! Don't let them run away like this!" The adjutant Dole smiled bitterly in his heart, but he still obediently conveyed the vice-commander's order. There were more than 100 ships, so it wasn't an easy task to deliver the order. When all the ships of the Canla Empire's 3rd and 4th squadrons received the order and finally started moving slowly, the adjutant Dole suddenly discovered that dozens of bright spots suddenly lit up on the sea in front of them. At first, these light spots were just as insignificant as fireflies in the night sky, but in the blink of an eye, they had already approached and turned into balls of fire flying on the sea. Some rumors about this mysterious fleet flashed through the adjutant Dole's mind, and he was shocked. Just as he was about to shout, He saw the balls of fire drawing a parabola in the air and landing on the sea about 200 meters in front of the ship he and the vice commander were on. Boom, 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 boom. Countless deafening explosions suddenly sounded one after another, and the sea that was originally only slightly rippled because the other side's ships quickly escaped instantly erupted with dozens of water droplets. These water droplets rose close to 20 meters into the air, as if dozens of giant fountains had suddenly emerged from the sea floor. Following the explosions, waves of several meters tall quickly spread out in all directions and reached them in a moment, causing the entire body of the enormous Thunderbolt-class combat ship under Dole's feet to shake violently. The smaller Trainstorm-class combat ships next to it were also violently shaken by the waves, and a few of them were even in danger of capsizing. The adjutant Dole turned to look at Candor with lingering fear, only to see that the vice commander's face was so gloomy that it looked like water was about to drip out of it, and his eyes were shooting out endless anger that didn't need to be seen clearly. These attacks were clearly launched by that fleet, and it was an obvious warning to them. The Kandla Empire's royal fleet had been established for so many years, and they were invincible in all the nearby seas. When had they ever suffered such humiliation? However, Candor knew very well that the other side had obviously shown mercy. Otherwise, if such fierce attacks landed directly on their fleet, or even their ships, the consequences could be imagined. After a long silence, Candor viciously punched the ship's mast and squeezed out a few words from between his teeth. "All right, new flyer escort fleet, I'll remember this." Chapter 709. Leslie put down the binoculars in his hand and nodded in satisfaction. The closest magic rocket was 200 meters away from the Kandla Empire's royal fleet, but it didn't cause any substantial damage to them. This result made him very satisfied and he relaxed. Even if Leslie didn't put the battle strength of the Kandla Empire's royal fleet in his eyes, the other side still represented the Kandla Empire's military. If they did cause any damage to the other side, it would be equal to declaring war on the Kandla Empire. No matter how bold Leslie was, he wouldn't do something this crazy. "Sir Leslie, since we've already escaped, why do we have to fire some magic rockets to scare them? Isn't this completely useless? Moreover, this will definitely anger the Kandla Empire's royal fleet. If we want to move around in these seas in the future, I'm afraid it won't be that easy." The lookout on the side took the binoculars from Leslie and looked at the situation in the distance, feeling a bit worried. Leslie laughed, thinking that even if you ask me this question, I don't know who to ask. According to his thoughts and rational judgment, it was clear that they shouldn't have any conflicts with the Kandla Empire's royal fleet. Since they weren't willing to let the other side search their ships, directly running away was a very good choice. Since they had already escaped, they should just run away and be done with it. No matter how much the Kandla Empire's royal fleet wanted to cause trouble in these vast seas, how could it be easy to find them? Not to mention that the difference in speed between the two ships was too great. Even if they met, the Kandla Empire's royal fleet wouldn't be able to catch them. He believed that those fellows from the Kandla Empire's royal fleet weren't idiot. After seeing the difference in speed between the two sides, they would definitely give up the idea of chasing them. But now, while they were escaping, they launched an attack on the other party. Although the purpose was only to warn them, this action changed the whole situation completely. Previously, the Kandla Empire's royal fleet had attempted to search and warn the New Flyers Guard fleet, which could be considered an ordinary routine duty. But now, the dozens of magic rocket launchers that were thrown out were a blatant attack on the Kandla Empire's royal fleet, which was equivalent to challenging the Kandla Empire's military. The Kandla Empire would definitely not tolerate such provocation and would definitely investigate this matter thoroughly. What was even worse was that Leslie had just revealed his identity, telling the other side that they were part of the New Flyers Guard fleet. Even if the Kandla Empire couldn't find them on the vast ocean, it wouldn't be a problem for them to find the new flyer. According to Su Yi's strange words, the priest could run away, but the church couldn't. So in Leslie's opinion, the series of actions just now could be considered unnecessary and could even be considered very stupid. But this series of actions had come from Su Yi's instructions. When they had set off from the Principality of Constantine, Su Yi had specially talked to Leslie in private, telling him what to do after entering the Kanla Empire's waters and making plans for what would happen today. Leslie had approved of Su Yi's crazy idea at the time, but when he actually did it today, he still felt that this method was too crazy. Thinking of Su Yi's confident smile before leaving, Leslie gave a bitter laugh, thinking that even he couldn't see through this guy's thoughts anymore. He didn't know where this fellow had the confidence to do this, but wasn't he worried about angering the Kanla Empire? Not only would he suffer the retaliation of the Kanla Empire, it would also destroy his plan to open the Kanla Empire's market and let magic machines enter the Kanla Empire on a large scale? While thinking about Su Yi's long-term plan, the lookout beside him suddenly called out in surprise. "Sir Leslie, look." Leslie looked in the direction the lookout was pointing and saw in the distant blue sky, there was a shadow that was quickly flying over. Seeing this familiar shadow, Leslie slowly let out a sigh of relief. This fellow, he's finally here. 5 minutes later, the magic airship landed on the incomparably wide deck of the medium magic ship that Leslie was on. The medium magic ship slightly sank, but it was still floating on the surface of the sea, making Leslie's nervous heart relax. The door of the magic airship opened and Su Yi was the first to jump out. When they saw Su Yi, all the crew on the deck respectfully gave him a bow. As the new flyer's position in the surrounding countries became higher and higher, its influence became bigger and bigger. Everyone in the new flyer felt more and more awe towards Su Yi. Although Leslie didn't respect Su Yi like the other employees of the company, seeing the confident smile on Su Yi's face after coming out of the magic airship, he couldn't help feeling a bit emotional. The first time he saw Su Yi, he was just the chairman of a small company and a small magician. His status was far from Leslie's at that time. But now in less than 5 years, the new flyer had become a first-class company that could influence the Lampari kingdom and the surrounding countries. Su Yi himself had become a powerful great magician. This kind of change was something that Leslie never thought of before. He never thought that there would be a day when he would become Su Yi's subordinate and work for the new flyer. These emotions didn't affect the smile on Leslie's face. He walked over and punched Su Yi in the chest before saying with a smile, "Su Yi, you came too late. If you came a bit earlier, you would have been able to see a good play." Su Yi revealed a doubtful look. Leslie described the matter of encountering the Kandra Empire's royal fleet in detail. After hearing this, Su Yi's expression didn't change as he asked, "You're certain that not a single ship from the Kanla Empire's royal fleet was damaged? Not a single person died?" Leslie shrugged his shoulders. "I'm not that ignorant. Relax, I've already confirmed it. They didn't suffer any substantial losses." "But Su Yi, even if they didn't suffer any substantial losses, I'm certain that this method has completely angered them. I'm afraid that this will be bad for our fleet and the company." Su Yi laughed. "Angering them might not be bad for us. If I said that this would make it easier to carry out my plan, would you believe me?" Leslie shook his head. He wanted to say that he didn't believe him, but seeing the mysterious smile on Su Yi's face, he swallowed his words back down. From the time Su Yi founded the new flyer until now, he had done many crazy things, but the final result always showed how correct his initial decision was. In the end, whether it was him or the new flyer, they would both receive great benefits. Only this time he had angered one of the two empires of signs, the Kandla Empire. Wasn't he afraid of playing with fire? Su Yi didn't care about what Leslie was thinking and asked him about the encounters of the guard fleet during this time. After learning that the new Flyer Guard fleet had become the overlords of the surrounding several hundred kilometers and no pirates dared to challenge them, he relaxed. This is good, but it's not enough. Leslie, I hope that you can control the Canla Empire's seas and the eastern seas of the continent within 3 months. Sui said. Leslie slightly knit his brows. I'm afraid that's impossible. If it was just pirates, then there wouldn't be a problem. But now that the Canla Empire's royal fleet is involved and we've completely offended them because of our decision, our movements in the Canla Empire's seas will definitely be restricted. We can't really fight with them. Sui waved his hand with a smile. Actually, my specific request is to open a route through the entire southern seas of Signs. I want to guarantee that from the Principality of Constantine to the southeast coast of Signs, there will be an absolutely safe route that will allow our company's transport fleet to transport goods to the southeast coast of the continent. Leslie's brows jumped up. What? You're already prepared to make a move that far away? Sui revealed a smile. Don't forget, this time they took the initiative to send themselves to us. Leslie couldn't help shaking his head with a smile. All right, as long as the Canla Empire's royal fleet doesn't cause trouble, controlling the entire southern seas of the continent isn't that hard. Of course, I don't have enough people and ships right now. It's hard to control such a large area, so you have to give me more people and ships. This problem is being solved right now. But Leslie, you should be clear that it's impossible to control the entire sea with just ship. The most feasible method is to be like Thunderbolt Island, controlling large amounts of islands and building bases on the sea that belong to our company. Like this, not only will we have strong control over the sea, it will also make it easier for you to resupply. This method is the safest. Leslie nodded. But this will cost an astronomical amount of investment. Are you certain you want to do this? Suyi's lips split open, revealing his white teeth as he said with a laugh, Leslie, don't forget, the sea has endless resources. Although the investment is large, the benefits are also large. Leslie couldn't help rolling his eyes. He had forgotten that Sui was the most standard merchant. How could he do a business that was a complete loss? Chapter 710. After meeting up with Leslie, Sui rested on the ship with Evita's group for a bit. The next morning, they boarded the magic airship and left. However, they didn't fly in the direction of the Principality of Constantine. After flying, they headed to the eastern seas. Looking at the endless seas to the east, Leslie took a deep breath. He thought that this fellow Sui really was ambitious. While others were thinking about how the new flyer could maintain a good situation in the Lampari Kingdom, the Kingdom of Ruhr, and the surrounding countries, he had already set his eyes on a giant like the Canla Empire. Now, his eyes were even further away. He wanted to spread the new flyer's products to the easternmost part of the continent. But the endless seas in front of them were endless, and Suyi's destination was also very far away. Not mentioning whether they could reach their destination or not, just the fact that they couldn't reach their destination was a very worrying problem. Actually, Sui was also a bit worried. This was the first time the magic airship that Evita had designed had a long-distance test. Flying from the Principality of Constantine to the southern seas of the Canla Empire and meeting up with Leslie, they had traveled over 3,000 kilometers. If they wanted to reach their destination, the Nozdormu Business Union Kingdom, just based on the map, they would have to travel over 2,000 kilometers. In other words, if the entire journey was calculated, it would be more than 5,000 kilometers in one way. On the signs of the past, this journey of over 5,000 kilometers was something that was impossible to complete. However, with Suyi's group riding in the magic airship, because of the magic airship's speed of over 100 kilometers per hour and its powerful endurance, this journey was possible. Evita, how far have we flown? Evita was looking at the sea below the magic airship through the cabin mirror, as well as the land that could be seen in the distance. When she heard Su Yi's voice, she turned back with a faint smile. We've already flown over 600 kilometers. Sir Chairman, according to our estimates, we should be able to fly out of the Kanla Empire's territory today. That's quite fast. Su Yi revealed a smile, but he actually didn't agree with his evaluation. The planes on Earth could reach a shocking speed of close to 1,000 kilometers per hour, so 5,000 kilometers would only take half a day to travel. The magic airship could only barely reach 100 kilometers per hour. To travel over 5,000 kilometers, even if they didn't stop, it would take over 50 hours, which was an entire 2 days. Of course, compared to the magic cars that could only travel on the ground, the magic airship was much more convenient. Not to mention that compared to the old horse carriages of the Science continent, the magic airship was on another level. Compared to the speed, Su Yi cared more about the direction they were flying in. The signs weren't like the planes on Earth, where they could use satellites to ensure that they were on the right path. They wouldn't deviate and fly to another place, so they could only rely on the pilot's judgment to determine the direction. Even though Evita's team already had plenty of experience in cruising, because this was their first long-distance cruising experiment, it was a huge challenge for them. But they could fly over 2,000 kilometers from the Principality of Constantine and accurately find Su Yi in the Norton Duchy, which was enough to prove that they had the ability in this aspect. So Su Yi only cared about it and wasn't that worried. Sir Chairman, I plan to start flying at a fixed speed after dark. According to the current season, it should take around 8 hours. If nothing unexpected happens, we should be able to reach the Nozdormu Business Union Kingdom by tomorrow morning. Evita explained her plan to Su Yi. Su Yi looked at the eastern sea that was gradually covered in darkness as the sun set and shook his head. No, Evita, the time we'll spend in the darkness should be shorter than the 8 hours you estimated. You have to be prepared for this error. Less than 8 hours? Will it be like that? Evita slightly knit her brows with a confused look. Su Yi thought about it and decided to explain to Evita the relationship between the sun rising in the east and setting in the west and the rotation of the planet. After being in this world for over 8 years, Su Yi had already found that this world was very similar to Earth in many ways. The most obvious thing was that they had the same rotation and time. Even when he looked up at the stars at night, Su Yi could find many familiar constellations that were in the same position as Earth. Like this, Su Yi often suspected that he was still on Earth and had just transmigrated to another world. Evita didn't really understand the basic knowledge of astronomy that Su Yi explained. But that didn't stop her from seriously listening and thinking about what Su Yi explained. Sir Chairman, if it really is like you said, if we return to the Principality of Constantine from the Nozdormu Business Union Kingdom, wouldn't the night be even longer? Or perhaps if we set off during the day would be even longer? It's like this. Su Yi gave a nod. But our flying speed is much slower than the rotation of the planet under us, so we can only delay the passage of time and we will be swallowed by the night in the end. That means, if this magic airship is fast enough, wouldn't we be able to live under the sun the entire time? Evita's eyes had a sparkle in them. Su Yi laughed. That's right in theory, but the planet under us is moving very fast, so it's very hard to catch up. Of course, if you really want to live under the sun, there's a simpler way. That's to go to the northernmost and southernmost areas. You'll find a place where the sun never sets for a certain period of the year. Evita deeply knit her brows and began to think. After a while, she couldn't help picking up a pen and paper and drawing on a piece of paper. Seeing Evita's focused appearance, Su Yi revealed a faint smile and left the front cabin. Telling Evita this basic knowledge of astronomy wasn't an idea that he came up with on the spur of the moment. Since developing the magic airship, Su Yi had been teaching Evita about this. His goal was to let her form a complete worldview as soon as possible. The magic airship was an important part of Su-Yi's future plans. Su-Yi had high hopes for Evita, so naturally he hoped that she wouldn't take too many detours. When he returned to the middle cabin of the magic airship, which was also the lounge, Su-Yi found that other than the two researchers on night duty, everyone else was already asleep. The long-distance cruise experiment made them very excited at first, but after a long time, everyone felt tired. It was hard to enter the night cruise mode, so everyone took this chance to rest. Su-Yi looked over the middle cabin and found that there was a faint blue or red glow in the corner, which contrasted with Akali's focused look on her round face. "Hey, Akali, why aren't you sleeping yet? What are you doing?" Hearing Su-Yi's voice, Akali looked up. She was stunned for a second before revealing an excited smile. When she was about to speak, it was like she thought of something. She suppressed her voice and waved her hand at Su-Yi. "Sir Chairman, quickly come and take a look." Su-Yi curiously came over and found that there was a disc on the table in front of Akali. There were faint blue and red glows that came from it. "What is this?" Su-Yi carefully looked at it and found that this disc was a bit similar to the long-distance magic positioning system that Akali had been researching, but whether it was the appearance or the display, it was very different. "Sir Chairman, do you see the glows on it?" Akali asked. I see it. What do these glows represent?" Su-Yi asked back. Akali giggled. "Sir Chairman, weren't you worried about how we would safely return? Let me tell you, with this thing, we definitely won't get lost when we return." "What is this thing? It's this amazing?" "These glows represent the small magic resonance sensors that I left behind along the way. Look, this light spot is the closest to us, it's the one that I left behind. Based on the information displayed on the map, it should be about 4,300 meters southwest of us at this time. In other words, after I left it behind, we have already flown 4,300 meters northeast. Look, this light spot might disappear soon because it will soon leave the range of the sensor." Su-Yi looked at the glowing light spots on the disk and couldn't help asking, "Then how do you distinguish them? How do you know which light spot represents which small magic resonance sensor you left behind?" "It's very simple. As long as you make a slight change to the magic array on the different small magic resonance sensors, you can let this console sense them and distinguish them." Seeing the excited and proud look on Akali's face, Su-Yi couldn't help taking a deep breath. He never thought that just as he was explaining to Evita how to use the basic knowledge of astronomy to fly the magic airship without getting lost, Akali had already made another major breakthrough in her field of research. Even if Akali's idea was very simple, as long as it was seriously arranged, the final effect would be very shocking. To Su-Yi, this magic positioning system led by Akali had already reached the shocking effect of the navigation system on Earth. Thinking of this, Su-Yi stood up and walked into the front cabin, looking at Evita, who looked up at him in surprise with a serious look. "Change directions and fly towards land." Chapter 7:11. Gaza raised his head and looked at the road leading to the west. He still didn't see the figure he was looking forward to. He couldn't help but sigh, shook his head, and lowered his head again. He had been waiting here for a full 5 days. Ever since he returned from the Principality of Constantine a month and a half ago, he had been looking forward to the arrival of New Flyer's chairman, Su-Yi. According to the agreement between the two, Su-Yi promised him that he would come to the Nozdormu Business Union Kingdom in the middle of the month. He would conduct a half-a-month of on-site inspection and detailed talks with the Nozdormu Business Union Kingdom to discuss the details of the cooperation. Gaza was extremely excited at the time. At first, he only heard about the new flyer and had a strong interest and expectation for the new flyer. But after personally making a trip to the Principality of Constantine and seeing the various facilities and development of the Principality of Constantine that were completely different from the other countries on the continent, his admiration for the new flyer deepened several times. He believed from the bottom of his heart that only by fully cooperating with the new flyer could the Nozdormu Business Union Kingdom truly establish a kingdom that completely belonged to them. Only then could they break away from the control and influence of the surrounding countries on the Nozdormu Business Union Kingdom. So at that time, he strongly invited Su-Yi to personally come to the Nozdormu Business Union Kingdom. But because Su-Yi had something to do at that time, he rejected his invitation. However, he said that he would definitely come in person. Half a month ago, Gaza received a message from manager Riley of the Amsterdam Chamber of Commerce that Su-Yi would definitely come to the Nozdormu Business Union Kingdom in the middle of the month. Gaza came to the small town 2 days in advance and patiently waited for Su-Yi's arrival. But now, a full 5 days had passed since the 11th of July, and he still didn't see Su-Yi or anyone representing the new flyer. This made Gaza very disappointed. Could it be that Chairman Su was going to go back on his words? Or was it because he didn't show enough sincerity, causing him to go back on his words? After careful consideration, Gaza felt that this was not the reason. In order to show their sincerity in cooperating with New Flyer, Gaza represented the Nozdormu Business Union Kingdom and proposed a shocking proposal to the Amsterdam Chamber of Commerce to build a road with a total mileage of more than 5,000 kilometers. It was impossible for New Flyer not to see their sincerity in cooperating. Of course, this also happened to be the biggest obstacle for the cooperation between the two sides. That was because the distance was too far. The Nozdormu Business Union Kingdom was located in the southeast corner of Sines, while the Principality of Constantine was located in the southwest corner of Sines. The straight-line distance between the two countries was already more than 5,000 kilometers, not to mention the various obstacles that one would have to face when traveling on land. It wouldn't be strange for the total distance to be close to 10,000 kilometers. 5,000 kilometers was a distance that was as far as the horizon for the people of the Sines continent, not to mention close to 10,000 kilometers. The Nozdormu Business Union Kingdom being able to hear about the Frestek Chamber of Commerce and understand some things about them was already because the Nozdormu Business Union Kingdom had a powerful source of information. At the same time, Gaza paid special attention to the Frestek Chamber of Commerce. For most of the people in the Nozdormu Business Union Kingdom and the Principality of Constantine, they probably hadn't even heard of the name of the other country. Due to the natural distance between them, the cooperation between the two sides was almost impossible to achieve. If it wasn't for Gaza's belief that New Flyer could bring changes to the Huayue Chamber of Commerce and the entire Nozdormu Business Union Kingdom, this matter wouldn't have happened. No matter what, I'll wait another 5 days. Gaza raised his head and looked at the road in the distance and made a decision in his heart. Since Chairman Su said that he would come in the middle of the month, according to his understanding of Su-Yi from his short contact with Su-Yi, he would definitely do it. If he couldn't even do this, as a merchant who kept his promises, even if Gaza wasn't completely disappointed in Su-Yi, he would still have some doubts about Su-Yi. When Gaza was thinking about what arrangements Su-Yi would make for him after he arrived, he suddenly heard a loud noise around him. Gaza looked up in surprise and found that, under the restaurant he was in, everyone standing on the street was looking up at the sky in the distance. Is there something strange? Gaza also looked up at the sky in the distance before being stunned. Isn't this the New Flyer's magic airship? Gaza recognized it with a single glance. The thing that was flying in the sky like a dark cloud was the magic airship that Su-Yi had personally introduced to him when he visited the New Flyer in the Principality of Constantine. At that time, Gaza was deeply shocked by this powerful magic machine that could carry people and fly freely in the sky. This kind of amazing magic machine, there was only the legendary magic airship that the elves had. There were only 5 magic airships in the history of the elves. According to what Sui said, this magic airship could actually be mass-produced. If it wasn't for Sui saying that the magic airship wasn't finished yet, Gaza would have immediately placed an order with the new flyer. According to what Sui said, once the magic airship was mass-produced, each one wouldn't cost more than 100,000 gold coins. For most people in the signs, 100,000 gold coins was without a doubt a large number. But for Gaza and the Huayue Chamber of Commerce, even if this wasn't a small number that could be ignored, if it was used to buy a magic machine like the magic airship, it was simply too cheap. It had to be known, the legendary magic airships of the elves cost 30 million gold coins to make. Although the magic airship couldn't compare to the magic airship, the difference in price was countless times greater than the difference in performance. Gaza watched as the magic airship that was like a black cloud with endless pressure flew over from the distance. It slowly landed in the open space outside the small town, and his heart was filled with excitement. If the Huayue Chamber of Commerce could have 100, no, they just needed 10 of these magic airships, they would definitely have enough confidence when facing the other 12 companies of the kingdom. Thinking of this, Gaza felt a bit of excitement that he hadn't felt in a long time. He stood up and waved his hand before heading downstairs. Behind him, there was a group of fully armed soldiers wearing the same uniform that followed him down. When the magic airship landed outside the small town, there was a group of fully armed soldiers wearing the same uniform that surrounded it. But these soldiers didn't surround them, rather they stood in 2 rows. They silently waited outside the side hatch of the magic airship with their heads raised, looking like they were welcoming them. Sui came out of the magic airship and seeing the formation outside, he couldn't help being a bit surprised. Although he had heard that the Nozdormu Business Union Kingdom had a rather strange political structure that was controlled by 13 companies, he still felt that it was a bit strange that the Huayue Chamber of Commerce could send out this many soldiers. But when he saw Gaza walking over from the distance, Su Yi's surprise turned into a smile as he came forward to welcome him. "Chairman Su, you really made me wait a long time." Gaza gave a laugh in the distance, speaking to Su Yi in a loud voice that came from the bottom of his heart. Su Yi revealed a faint smile and took a few steps forward to shake Gaza's hand. "There was an accident along the way that delayed me a bit." "Accident?" Gaza raised a brow. "It's nothing, it was just a small accident." Su Yi shook his head with a smile, not planning on explaining it to Gaza. Actually, there really wasn't an accident along the way. The reason why they were a few days late was because Su Yi wanted to perfect Akali's new discovery. He had flown over the signs and had Akali place a small magic resonance sensor every once in a while. Walking and stopping, naturally they were delayed quite a bit. Gaza naturally didn't keep asking. After welcoming Su Yi on behalf of the Huayue Chamber of Commerce and the Nozdormu Business Union Kingdom, he invited Su Yi and the people on the magic airship into the small town for lunch. During the meal, Gaza chatted with Su Yi while introducing him to the various arrangements he had prepared for Su Yi over the past few days. Su Yi patiently listened at first, but when he heard that Gaza would arrange a meeting between Su Yi and the other 12 companies, he raised his head to cut him off. "Chairman Gaza, I came to the Nozdormu Business Union Kingdom this time just for a preliminary inspection. As for the cooperation, I still need to see how it goes, so I hope that this discussion can be considered at the end. What do you think?" Gaza slightly knit his brows. He knew that Su Yi was clearly planning on inspecting first before making a decision. This meant that if the Nozdormu Business Union Kingdom's environment or performance did not satisfy him, he would most likely turn around and not consider any cooperation at all. After thinking about it, Gaza revealed a smile and gave a slight nod. "All right. I believe that Chairman Su will be very satisfied with the investment environment of our Nozdormu Business Union Kingdom." Sui looked at him and revealed a smile of deep meaning before slowly shaking his head. Chairman Gaza, please forgive me for not agreeing. Gaza was stunned as he felt a bit unhappy. Chairman Su, may I ask if there is anything you're not satisfied with? This Chairman Su had clearly just arrived and he actually wasn't satisfied with the Nozdormu Business Union Kingdom. Wasn't he being too picky? However, Su Yi's reply made Gaza stunned and speechless for a while. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.